What's going on there, jerk faces? It's your boy Andy, and you're watching Nocturnal Transmissions, brought to you by the Circle of Jerks podcast. It's our weekly live stream where we talk about news, current events, an open forum for esoteric thoughts or ideas, as well as our movie review. Tonight we'll be continuing this month's theme of Rise of the Machines with 2002 Simone, starring Al Pacino, Catherine Keener, and a young Evan Rachel Wood.
Oh man, what a crazy movie! It's amazing.
So
this is your choice too.
This is my choice.
A good one.
And admittedly, I've never seen this movie before. So, but I knew.
Oh, okay. It was just one that you wanted to watch.
Yeah, well, it's because I knew the basic premise would fit with the theme. So, that's the only rationale. That's the only rationale that I gave. Or that's the only rationale I used
me out of the water. It was so
to pick this movie. I mean, but luckily that I was even aware of this movie.
Yeah, I would have never found this movie on my own. I don't think, unless I was just going down the Al Pacino.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
But yeah, we of course the movie review will be saved for later on in the stream. With me as ever is the homeboy Rob. And
what's going on, everybody?
Well, it's glad to see that you're in one piece and haven't floated away.
I haven't floated away yet. That's good. Look, at least in my area, the rain has somewhat subsided. It's not raining at the moment, but it's been on and off most of the day. Last couple of days.
Same
here. Thankfully, I didn't have to work yesterday, so I didn't have to go out in the rain too much, and just kind of just hung out, stayed dry, and went to work today. It was raining all day, but life's good, man. I don't need a kayak just yet.
But
just yet.
Maybe in the works.
I don't think we've had this much rain over the past year and a half. I don't think we've had this much rain for 30 years. It kind of reminds me of the 90s with all the El Nino stuff, right. And where you're just constantly getting pelted with rain.
It's so funny though that thank you for jogging my memory on this, because I mean it wasn't something that necessitated an entire segment of the stream, but something that that always kind of stuck in my mind, and that was the idea of El Nino, and how before it really wasn't a thing, right? I mean, even when at least when I was growing up, the one that happened in the 90s, it was in 96,
94, 95?
No.
96 maybe?
It was definitely junior high. For me, anyways, so it was 96, 97, maybe even 98. But, prior to the last, El Nino season was back in 83. And it was so funny because, after the 96, 7, 8 season El Nino, it seemed like that was always the thing to explain away crazy weather. It's this El Nino, it's the El Nino, it's the El
Nino. Yeah, that's right. I do remember that.
And it was just so interesting because after a while, at least into the 2000s, that kind of died off. And then all of a sudden now, especially in the last couple of years, particularly after last season's much needed rains, we're starting to hear about that El Nino talk again.
Of course we are. Which, like I said, it's good. I'm glad we got the rains. I mean, the roads are shit now, right. Because we don't. I don't know. It's our government our state government doesn't give a shit about the roads. They could give a shit. So,
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. What is it? An account that I follow on Instagram, they had a video of uh, a specific on ramp or off ramp to the 101, and God, the potholes were just flagrant.
Was it Highland?
No, 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 no,
Because
no.
that's
It was
the
still
off ramp that where I ended up like it blew out my tire, bent my rim, and it almost blew out another tire. That's how, and it cost me almost $1,500 to fix that, which I put a claim in with the city, like, and I'm hoping that they're gonna pay me back because
well, no,
that's
actually,
some
I
big.
believe at least the video of the off ramp that I saw was still in the valley. I believe it was like Coldwater Canyon.
Oh, geez, yeah, that's probably bad too.
Yeah, um, and yeah, they're just like they're flagrant. With the potholes are flagrant. Um,
The road, it's
yeah.
bad everywhere. I mean, it's like it looks like the roads haven't been looked at in 70 years.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. But yeah, and then it's so interesting because when you told me that what happened to your car, I was I turned on the TV, and I mean nowadays, I don't know about you. Uh, do you have cable?
No, I know, not
Okay.
anymore.
Well, I still have cable TV, and every time you turn off the box and then turn it back on, it automatically defaults to the Spectrum One news channel,
Oh, yeah, I do remember that.
which
Yeah,
is
I had cable recently enough where like that's what
yeah.
happens.
But yeah, so I turned on the TV, and then it's the Spectrum News channel. Well, that's all they do. They don't do any sort of
That's how they get their ratings.
yeah, pretty much. Because I don't like sometimes I'll stay on it because like the weather report will be on. It's like, oh, let me check what the weather's doing. But anyways, they were doing a story about the same situation that you got yourself into with another person. They were talking about how what is it? A lot of times claimants don't hear back for like years.
Oh, I'm not expecting to hear anything back, but it's like it's no. If I don't hear anything back in like 6 months, though, I'm gonna start calling the city and complaining because it's like it's
Yeah.
bullshit.
Uh,
Yeah, I mean, because you just have to raise enough hell, and which I'm going to do, and I'm probably going to start cursing some people out, just because it's ridiculous. Well, one, I'm not even traveling that fast. I'm getting off at the off ramp. I'm only going like 40 miles an hour. It's dark. There's no lights, and it was raining that day too. And like the where you get off, but you can't see where the pothole
mm,
is. It just looks like black road because there's no lights there
right.
either. And had there been lights, I probably would have avoided it. But no, I hit that thing dead on, and as soon as I hit it, I was like, "Oh fuck!" I knew it was bad. Blew out the
Yeah.
sidewall, of the
Oh
tire,
yeah.
bent the
Oh
rim.
jeez.
It was just bad.
Yeah. Total catastrophic loss.
Yeah,
Oh
and thankfully it didn't cause an accident.
Well, yeah, that's a good thing too. Otherwise, I'd be the one here talking to a blank screen.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just yeah.
But no,
But no, that was a couple weeks
yeah,
ago. But it's just
yeah.
bullshit, man.
But well, yeah. Well, what I really wanted to address with the whole El Nino thing was like, I wonder if that's kind of like the whole idea of like terrorists and terrorism. Like, I wonder if they're like it's that. Well, it probably is, but if I was wondering if like them using El Nino was just a way to like condition people, particularly to cover for like certain weather experiments. Because I mean now it's not even a conspiracy theory because they admit it. They admit to like weather augmentation or weather manipulation. So it's not even radical to say that the government is messing with the weather.
Well, this also had some because when we talked about Snowpiercer, which was not that long ago, I mean, right off the bat, like even the director of that movie is kind of speculating that it was because of government intervention in the weather that caused this event that froze the
Yeah,
world.
that put the world into an ice age. Yeah. So,
Yeah. So
but I don't think I don't think they have the or like in the Matrix franchise, or if you watch the Animatrix, there's like kind of the history of the war between man and machine, and that it was humanity that blackened the sky because at the time the robots they required they ran on solar energy, which I think that's a bit of a stretch. Um, because just
no
because
one's
I
ever
mean
know about solar
I don't
energy.
care how advanced humanity got in the future. Well, maybe they were that advanced that they were able to get photovoltaics to a point where it was able to convert solar radiation into more efficient forms of energy. Okay, I'll grant them that premise. But I mean, but realistically, like even after like solar energy was introduced like commercially like what in like the 70s, and it still really hasn't
Yeah.
improved all that much.
No. Just like our power
Yeah,
grid.
but but yeah, so it was just like it was really interesting because because with all the rains that we're getting, all of a sudden like the term El Nino came up, and I was like, oh, like I haven't heard that one in a while. And so I'm expecting going forward, at least from like last year to this year, and then going forward, if we have another rainy, another wet rainy season this coming calendar year, I expect very much to constantly be hearing about El Nino.
Yeah. It's I'm pretty sure it's something like that. And it's just but I yeah, the weather has just been it's been a little odd, but
Yeah,
I'll
it's been killing my business, man.
it's
It's been
like the
killing my
weather goes
business.
through these weird cycles. And we go through weird wet seasons, we go through dry spells. Um it's everyone thinks that like they have this like great understanding. Oh, the world is in peril and we need to save her. And it's like, no, it's let's not just throw a trash or whatever bullshit batteries where wherever you want to. But it's there's gonna be times where it's hot and dry and there's not a lot of rain, especially because we live in a desert. And then there's gonna be times where it rains a lot, which is where we're at right now.
Yeah, but although I think in the last few weeks it's rained more than it had the previous year around the same time.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah,
rained a
so
lot.
it's really been wet, and yeah, like I said, it's been affecting my business because, again, I'm helping out my buddy at his shop, and when people come, they could come and look at the bikes, but then they can't go and test ride them because it's raining, or it's or it just recently rained, and like the ground is still wet, and
Yeah,
the
and they're not gonna spend
well no,
2 grand on a bike.
but yeah, but also like the bike is it's display, but it's not. It's not. We don't have dedicated demos for each brand. So like, after writing it, I would have to like go back and like wipe her down.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
and it's like especially if the bike costs as much as it does, and they can't really test ride it. They're not gonna spend that money unless like they're just like, oh, I already know what I
yeah,
want,
yeah,
so boom,
exactly.
here it
Yeah, I just
is.
recently the other day I had a couple come in, and yeah, it was exactly that. They came in. It was like it was raining, or it was like at the very least the ground was wet and it was sprinkling. And yeah, and so like they came in, they sat on the bikes, they made sure like it felt good to them, but like the thing that really sells the bike is when they actually ride it and they actually get to feel the sensation of like, of the wind whipping through their hair and all that, and then
Yeah.
they feel the speed of it. And so yeah, this rain has been really messing up my business.
Well, then I pray for sunshine and dryness.
Sunshine and dry ground.
Yeah. Um. But yeah, that's the rain. Hopefully, will subside later in the week. Although it's kind of looking like it's gonna go away for a bit and then come back for a little bit, and I don't know. I don't know how long we're gonna have the weather we're
Mm.
having. But yeah, it's been a pretty good week besides the rain for me. I'm gonna be well. One, we just released our episode with our friend of the podcast, Phil. We had a episode that we did with him that we released, and I'm actually gonna be going on his show tomorrow, talking about the film The Wrecking Crew,
Mm.
which people might remember from watching Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That's the movie that Sharon Tate is watching in the movie theater,
Yeah, it's a really weird thing. It's like she's
which
watching
was
herself in the movie. I don't. It's pretty interesting.
yeah, it's kind of like one of those like meta
Yeah.
moments, and
Although
I
it was
end
kind
up
of
yeah,
weird how
well,
she finagled her way into watching that movie for free because she's like, oh, I'm in this movie.
that's
Yeah,
me.
that's me.
Uh, it's yeah, well, you'll hear my thought. Tune in later this week to Making Tarantino the podcast to hear my thoughts. I actually ended up. It's actually a whole series of films. The Matt Helm film series, which was essentially a James Bond.
Right.
Uh, it was competing against James Bond. It was an American spy movie, but it was more like the Roger Moore era, where it was very tongue in cheek. A lot of it had some comedic flair to it, starring Dean Martin,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of sexy girls, all that stuff, and they are really fun. I think the second one, so The Wrecking Crew is the last film that was made. Although the book series, it's like 27 books that were made for this series. So yeah, it's but like the Wrecking Crew, which was the last film made, it's also like but it was the second book that was released. I actually think the second film is the best one, Murderers Row, because you got Carl Malden's in it,
Mm-hmm.
and Margaret, from like Cincinnati Kid. I mean Dean Martin is really good, and you just it's such a good movie.
The
All the films are
director,
fun.
remind me of his name.
So the director of The Wrecking Crew is hold on one second. Sorry, I don't have my notes with me at the moment, but let me look that up real quick. So he was the same director as the first film, The Silencers. Oh, Phil
Oh,
Carlson, who yeah, he did like Kansas City
oh
Confidential,
wait,
which is a great noir film, and
okay.
but yeah, he did another Matt Helm film, The
Oh, there,
Silencers,
Matt
which was the
Helm.
first
Okay,
one.
Matt Helm is who?
Matt Helm is Dean Martin's character.
Ah,
That's the character, the spy character.
okay.
That is he's the American James
I see.
Bond
Oh,
essentially.
cause okay, I got it all twisted. Cause I thought Matt Helm was the director of the movie, and then
No, it's the character.
okay,
Matt Helm is the
okay,
character.
fair enough. Cause you said a Matt Helm movie, so I assumed that that was a
The
director.
the Matt the Matt Helm films, like it's kind of like the James Bond films
Okay,
or the Ethan or
yeah, the Jason Bourne films or the yada
exactly.
yada
That's
yada.
it's kind of like it's
Okay, yeah, cause I thought
yeah.
yeah, 'cause you said because in my mind I had it as like I had a different association. So like I thought Matt Helm was the director, and then I was like, thinking like, oh, is that? I wonder if that's any relation to Ed Helm, of Saturday Night Live fame. But now that you
No, no, no,
clarified that
no, no.
the character within the book, the stories, the books, and the movie.
Yeah. Well, I highly recommend watching them. They're a lot of fun. There's 4 of them. There's the Silencers, Murderers Row, the Ambushers, and then the Wrecking Crew. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna be doing that this week. We just released on Cinemigos our episode on Mortal Thoughts with Demi Moore and Bruce Willis, Glenn Headley, Harvey Keitel, which is a really kind of an interesting how would I describe that film? It's more of a unreliable narrator film. So if if you like those type of films, and the ending's a little ambiguous, um, yeah, you'll like it. It's a lot of fun. Bruce Willis, who is a horrible, horrible person, but you love his character at the same time. You want more of him in the film because he is so he's so horrible, but he's so funny at the same time.
Just one of those like lovable dirt bags.
Yeah, lovable dirtbags. Yeah, there's this whole scene where he is complaining about his wife not getting sugar because he's a tea drinker, and it's like, oh, we're always out of sugar. How hard is it to look into the cupboard? You see that there's no sugar. You write down on the list SUGER, sugar. You write it down.
Oh, he
Obviously he
misspelled
can't
it. Yeah.
spell because he's an idiot. Yeah. Or there's this other moment too where they're in a van, and it's like he breaks up the girls' night that Demi Moore and Glenn Headley's character are gonna have, and he's just saying all sorts of crazy shit, and his wife has just had it, and so she's like, I'm gonna fucking turn this van right into opposing traffic and just have a truck hit us. And it's like she's playing chicken with this truck, and it's like, don't do it, don't do it. It's like, and they're like, yeah, and it's this crazy scene, and she pulls away at the last second, and Bruce Willis's character is like, oh yeah, oh god, I got a huge boner right now. Yeah, yeah. It's like, what the fuck? It's so funny. It's so ridiculous. He's such an asshole. It's
Uh,
so check out Mortal Thoughts. Check out a review on it. It's
that's
so much
it's
fun.
he Bruce Willis's character in that movie reminds me of a guy I used to know. He would just say, yeah, he was a crazy person too, and he would just say like the most like bad shit off the walls kind of stuff. And yeah, he was kind of and from how you're describing, he too was kind of like kind of a lovable jerk. You know.
Yeah, it's but I said it's an interesting film. Definitely check it out. Have some fun with that. It's some people are gonna enjoy it. Some people are gonna be a little uncomfortable with it. That's okay.
For the audience again,
It's a
what was
decent
the
film.
title of the movie?
Mortal
Mortal
Thoughts.
Thoughts.
Yeah. I also made some new film pickups too. Some that we've actually covered on for us. I got Rebel Without a Cause. There's a new 4K release of that, so I got that. I got a couple of Bogart films that I really like. The Desperate Hours. He's a bad guy in this one. It's like a home invasion film. In a Lonely Place, which is also really good. He's the main character who also, he's a flawed character, if you will. He's not like, I wouldn't call him a good guy, but he's our guy in the film that we're following. And then another one of our favorites that we've talked about, I actually bought 2 different versions of it. 12 Angry Men. I got the Kino Lorber version and the Criterion version, mainly because they have different special features and different commentaries that are on here. So buying both of them, I think is I'm gonna learn a lot more, even more about one of our favorite films that we talked about. So I'm excited about that. And I got I got a bunch more on the way. I won some money during the Super Bowl, so I bought some movies.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, I got like High Noon coming in. I got RoboCop. What else did I get? I got a whole bunch of stuff. I actually don't even remember all of what I got, but it'll be coming in later this week. I also bought Boss, another one of our favorite
Some respect on it,
blaxploitation
Rob. All
films.
right, it's Boss Nigger. All right, Boss Nigger. That's the name of the movie.
It is a great,
All right.
great movie.
I don't know if I told you, but also look up space movie. Look in Google. Type in space movie 1996.
Oh, I know which movie you're talking about.
Yeah,
Yes,
space niggers.
I know all about. Yes, I know it's a ridiculous title, but I'm gonna watch that. I need to watch
Right.
that just off the title alone.
I live.
Yeah, that's been me. That's what I'm up to this week, and I think later this week we're releasing our episode on Ricochet with Denzel Washington as well.
Dude,
That's an
you
interesting
want?
movie. I'll just say that.
What was that? You know, we noticed that Denzel never does comedies.
That's I see that. Okay, that's what I've been waiting on. That's the one thing that he has not done
Well,
in
no,
his career is a
he did
comedy.
one, but then he was like so bad in it. Like
What
not that
was
his
it?
performance was poor, but it's just like him and like that kind of like obvious uh, physical humor sort of comedy doesn't work. Like there could be like he could
No,
do there could be comedic elements in a movie, and I think he does those well. But like try to doing like straight comedy or like straight comedy movies is just not him. God, what was it? There was one movie that we did where it was like kind of like a straight up kind of comedy, and it was just like afterwards he's like, nah.
it's got to be back in like
It
the
was in
like
the
the
'90s.
very like late '80s, early
It was in the
'90s.
'90s. I'm not gonna find it right now, but
Yeah, the
whoa,
that is one thing. Yeah, where
is he credited for in being in Death Wish?
no, that was the remake was
No, this is well like in
Bruce
his
Willis.
filmography it says Death Wish 1974, but
No
that might be
way.
wrong or
He was in the original Death Wish with Charles
that's what it's
Bronson.
saying.
He must have been a kid.
Yeah,
Oh shit! I might have to rewatch Death Wish to see if I can find
right.
Denzel.
I guess the only other sort of comedy that he does, but it's early on in his career. It's a Carbon Copy.
I've never seen it.
Yeah. It's
Like
a
the
funny
first
premise though.
movie I
I know
remember.
the premise though because it stars George Siegel and
Okay.
and then Denzel plays his half black half white son.
Oh, okay. Yes, I have heard of that.
Yeah,
I've never watched it.
I saw a little bit of it, and it's
Yeah.
funny because there's like it kind of goes against like stereotypes, like because like oh my son is black, so of course he's good at basketball, and George Siegel and Denzel they try to hustle some guys for some money. I
Hmm.
forget why.
Oh,
I forget why. Yeah,
you've talked to me about this film before.
yeah. And
Yeah.
then I see. I remember the scene. Yeah, he like I forget like why they didn't have any money, but they try to hustle some guys, some like other black guys out of money, and then the son's like, oh, I don't play basketball, you know. And then he's like, what are you talking?
Oh,
Like, what are you
dude.
talking about?
So
Black people are great at basketball. And then they get their asses kicked, and
yeah.
like, you know, you see Denzel, he tries to shoot a basket, and just like it's like he like airballs it, or he like overthrows the basket, and it's like he has no handles.
So must honestly, when I was thinking about that, like he must not be good at basketball because there's a scene in
Mm-hmm.
Ricochet where he is playing basketball at the beginning with his cop partner and Ice-T's
Mm-hmm.
character. And when he's going in for the shot, like where he's like, they're not showing him. So it has to be, and plus those are not his abs that are being shown. So it has to be like a stunt double who can actually shoot or dunk. It's like, so he must really not be good at basketball in real life. Uh,
Maybe.
but
Well, it's funny because
the,
he does do a basketball movie later on.
which is,
Uh, hold on.
the only sports movie I know he did was like Remember the Titans.
No, it wasn't like really a sports film, but it was a story. Oh, he got game. That's what it was.
Oh, I've never seen that.
Yeah, he played. Yeah, I think it's based on a true story or something. But yeah, it's about a father who like teaches his son how to play ball, and then the son gets like really good, and he's like offered, um, like a chance to go to college and everything. But Denzel's character is like has been in and out of prison.
Oh, I want to see if there's like any sort of like quick cutaways, like when he's actually like shooting.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Just
again, I haven't seen this movie in its entirety. I've only seen like some early scenes, but yeah, there's like a scene where he's like teaching his son how to play ball, and I don't remember if it's him or not.
there is a movie that I found that we're definitely gonna have to review on here. When I went to the New Beverly to go to a midnight showing of White
Mm-hmm.
Chicks, which is my wife's favorite movie.
That's the only thing. That's the
They
only
were
thing we can
showing.
agree on. That's the only thing me and your wife can agree upon. That White Chicks is an amazing movie.
It's a great fucking movie. It's so good. And what was really cool about that experience is that Marlon Wayans showed up to watch the
Oh
movie with
shit!
us. Yeah, he was
Oh
there.
nice. What the
It
heck?
was great. Yeah, because it's funny because I bought us like popcorn and
Uh-huh.
drinks, but I was like, oh, we'll just share the one popcorn. I don't think I don't think we'll need more than that. And then she ate the popcorn. She's like, you're gonna need another bag. This popcorn is way too good. So she bogarted my popcorn.
uh,
I go back in line to buy some more popcorn, and I looked at it, I was like, man, that looks like Marlon Wayans. And and I was like, nah, there's no way. There's no way that Marlon Wayans is gonna show up to watch this movie with us. It's no way. And then when I saw one of the ushers talking to him, it's like, hey man, if you need anything, you let us know. We got you covered. I was like, holy, and in my head I was like, holy shit, it is Marlon Wayans. Oh my god. Okay, he brought him and like his whole family was with him. Not his brothers,
right,
but
yeah,
like his
his
more
individual
immediate
family.
family. Yeah, his family. And so I got back to my seat, and I was like, honey, you're not gonna believe it. Marlon Wayans is here watching the movie with us. Look over there. And she was like, see this every you know how
Yeah,
she
yeah,
gets.
yeah.
And she was so excited. I was like, this is my favorite movie. I'm watching it with the star of the movie. This is cool. This is so great. And everyone loves and she like the theater is
Mm-hmm.
packed. I mean, at a midnight showing,
Yeah, yeah.
it is packed to the
Mm-hmm.
rafters. And she's like, I never knew so many people like this movie as much as I do. This is crazy.
It's
She
such
was
a
so
good
excited.
movie. It's
It was a
entertaining.
great
It's
experience.
there's like little
Yeah.
heartwarming moments. And I think
But
at the time, I think it was a very it was a very sharp sharp critique on like the whole famous for being famous sort of culture that was that was starting to
Yeah, yeah,
happen.
oh yeah. It it was hilarious. And but before that, they were showing trailers to other
Mm-hmm.
movies. I think some of them, I don't know if they were all Keenan Ivory Wayans directed
Mm-hmm.
films, but one of the films that I saw in there for the trailer, which is a similar theme to White Chicks, but is like at the opposite spectrum. Have you ever heard of a film called Soul Man from the 80s?
Mm, sounds familiar.
So it's got James Earl Jones.
Wait.
There's another really famous actor in there too. The premise of this is that there's a
Oh
kid who gets into
yes,
Harvard.
yes, I do remember.
We
A,
have got to
yeah,
review this film.
like
It looks.
the movie against affirmative action.
I was like, what is this? This is this movie got made. This is crazy. I have got to see this
I
immediately.
knew that movie sounded the title sounded familiar. Yeah,
Yeah,
it
we
is.
have got to
It
watch.
stars a
We have
very
got to review
young
Soul.
C. Thomas Howell.
That's right. Yeah, we have
Yeah,
got to see this movie. We have got to see it. We have got to review it.
absolutely.
Oh my god! It was. I was like, what the fuck is this? This is crazy.
I know. Dude, this movie could not be made today,
No, it can't.
and that's the real tragedy.
There would be a riot in the theater.
It'd be that, and that's the real tragedy that this movie cannot be made today. Especially with
It's
modern makeup technology. Like, how much better would it
mm.
have been?
They could only make it in Canada with Justin Trudeau playing the main
Right,
character.
exactly.
Oh, but yeah, I was like, oh, I forgot to tell you about that last week where I was like, oh, dude, we have got to cover Soul Man.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I was thinking about we could do like a neo blaxploitation month, like where it's like newer kind of like blaxploitation films where you have I was thinking like we could do like Pootie Tang, we could do the two remakes of Shaft, uh both with Sam Jackson.
Mm,
Which essentially are like, so there's the one from 2000 and there's like it's technically a
right.
sequel from
Yeah.
2019, and then we could do yeah, Soul Man, and then a Pootie Tang. Yeah, we got to.
I think you already said Pretty Tang.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, but
But yeah,
anyways,
those four. I think that would be a good neo blaxploitation month.
that would do.
Either that, or we could like throw in Jackie Brown if we want to do like on like a 5 Tuesday month.
Oh yeah. Well, if we can make that work out, then yeah.
Yeah, but why don't we get into our
All right,
topics?
let's get to topics. Let's go with let's what is it? Let's just go with the border stuff.
Yeah, God. I mean, there's a lot going on there, and there's a lot of the repercussions of what's happening, which we all know is by design. But why don't we start with talking about the actual some of the legalities that are happening, at least with Texas, and where our supposedly awesome conservative Supreme Court uh, chose to essentially tell Texas to stop. Yeah, they started to rip up what Texas had done that our country is not doing, which is protecting the border. And they told us like, no, you can't do that. That's our job. Okay, well then why aren't you doing it? But yeah. But the other thing too is I kind of like that instead of just giving up, that Texas is like, okay, whatever they rip up, you just put right back.
Right, because they said that it has to be taken down, but then didn't say that yet. That Texas have to stop putting it up. Um, but
That is
yeah,
true.
but also yeah, I mean at the time, I can admit this freely that I too was mostly most happy is not the right word. Let's say mostly content with the nomination of Amy Coney Barrett for Supreme Court. I mean, she had all the right credentials, which is the most important thing about her. Not that she has a vagina, but she had all the right credentials. Um, and her morals more or less aligned with mine. So I was so I was content with that. But but after a ruling like this, the the thing that I wouldn't count as uh, the thing that I wouldn't count as a feather in her cap, I now you have to use against her as a negative toward her nomination and installment as a Supreme Court justice, and that's being a woman. Because ultimately, she ruled like a woman, like and as a mother, which she is, and again,
Uh,
which I don't
yeah.
mean to bash mothers or anything of that sort, but that's why you can't. That's why if there's a prohibition, or in the Bible at least, there's a prohibition of women being in positions of authority because women
Yeah,
they're
I took
gonna
my
they're
daughter
gonna take all
and we
their
curled up and we
everything. They're gonna
cried
take their
together.
feelings into account, like, oh, well, I'm a mother, and like all these babies that are coming across, and oh, like the danger that they're in. Why shouldn't they be allowed to come in here?
Because they're in danger because you have allowed the government has allowed an open border, and you have these people who are trafficking children. If you had two brain cells to throw together, you would say like, maybe if we close the border, these people trekking over with children that are not their own wouldn't do it.
Exactly,
But
and so
she's too busy fucking curling up with her own daughter, crying, and coming up with her Supreme Court decision because of that.
exactly, and I mean, and I know the stereotype is like, oh, women are too in their feelings and men don't have enough feeling. That's not the case because being a man, I do have emotions, right? But as a man, emotions get you killed. All right, like
I have
imagine. I
anger
mean, I
and
don't believe necessarily. What was it?
I have anger and not
There you go.
anger.
That's anger. Yeah, that encompasses the entire emotional spectrum for men. Anger and not anger.
Unless I watched Rocky, then I cry a
Right.
little bit, but that's it.
But Uh, but think back to more primitive times. If men consider their emotions, like if they're out hunting their prey, and it just so happens that that the prey that they're stalking for like 5 days turns out to be a female, and then it's also a mother. It's like oh, with if I kill this thing, if I kill this deer, then the baby's gonna die. But if I don't kill this thing, then I can't feed my family, and my family will die. So what are you gonna do? And
It's funny too. I was just watching something. I don't know if you saw this too about Shaquille O'Neal talking about how like you can never share emotions with a woman
oh,
because they'll use it against you.
that's exactly right though,
Yeah, and I was like, dude, that he has got a very strong point.
dude. Yeah,
Because as soon as like there's a moment like where the women will put that in their memory bank and they will use that against you at a later time. It has happened to me. It has happened to a lot of men.
Oh yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean, it kind of a little bit off the topic, but yeah, it's like all these women who are who do like their TikTok videos in their cars talking about like, oh, a man needs to open up, a man needs to share his feelings, and he has to share like he has to cry in front of a woman.
So I can use it against him.
Exactly. It's
That's
like
what
what they're
happens
doing is like
after
so
it's
I can
all filming.
eventually load the gun. That's what they're saying. Like, oh, remember that time that you cried, watching a, fucking, watching a fucking, what is it? You cried because of, something emotional, but it's just like like the woman perceived it wrong. So, oh, remember the time you cried like a bitch, or remember that time that you weren't able to fix the tire, or you weren't able, or by the time you shared that you're jealous of your friend Stan because you saw his junk at the gym and his was bigger. Click. Just loading the
Yeah.
chamber with things to use against use against.
Or that time you watched Rocky and you cried.
Yeah. So yeah. So men should not open up to their women,
No.
or to women in general.
Like I said, there's anger and not anger for me. But man, it's just I really am getting tired of these supposed. I think there's maybe a conservative and a half on the Supreme Court
I mean, yeah, all
who
like
actually
jumbled
don't.
together. Well, I'd give Thomas. I count Thomas as a full.
So that's what I'm saying. Like he's the full
Right.
conservative.
Oh, the
It's like
remainder. The
it's
remainder.
the remainder is a half. I just because you never know what the fuck they're gonna like decide. It's
Right.
like the only one who it seems to ever stand up for any sort of normalcy is Thomas.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah, and that's a black
he's the
guy, and
only
that's
one
a
I like.
black guy. Everybody. All right. We are siding with a black
He's the
guy.
only one I
He's the
like.
only one I like.
He's the only one I like.
Yeah, because yeah, and also he's the one that stood up against Joe Biden during his confirmation hearing.
Yeah, pretty much told him to go to
Yeah, and
hell.
he basically Uno reversed that shit because there was all these claim I forget what that bitch's name is, but like who basically accused them of sexual misconduct.
She's still saying that he
Right.
did that
But
stuff.
yeah, what is it?
She's like quadrupled down
Yeah,
on that.
Clarence Thomas, he Uno reversed that card. He placed down the Uno reverse card, and it's like this is a digital
High tech
lynching.
lynching.
And then boom,
Yeah, high
shut
tech
up
lynching. Yeah.
all of the Democrats. They couldn't say shit.
Oh, what? Oh, no, we wouldn't do that to you, Mr.
Yeah,
Black
right.
Man, Mr. Soul Man.
So yeah, it's just weakness is what it is. Like and again, like Kamala Harris, the vice president, who's supposed to be the border czar.
Yeah,
Where the fuck?
she's
Where is
no,
she?
she's the czar of
She's
nothing.
the czar of nothing. She's the czar. She's the vice president when she has to be in front of the cameras, or she has to go on Ellen or The View or whatever bullshit talk show. The daytime talk show.
She's the cackling word salad.
She's the fucking HR lady with the jangly bracelets. It's like, oh no, you didn't.
Yeah, that. I have a question.
Oh yeah, she's
The
either like the jangly bracelet HR lady or she's the fucking kindergarten teacher. It's like, oh, and that's how democracy works.
we love school buses. I like Venn diagrams.
Right.
It's like, oh my god, shut up, bitch.
Right. And that is like,
And here's the crazy thing.
Ecuador is a country in South America, and South America is below North America. And that's how democracy works. Okay.
And today is not tomorrow, and tomorrow is not yesterday.
And the passage of time,
but it
markates the passage of time.
It's like, what the fuck are you
Yeah,
talking
for those
about?
of you unaware,
And
we're making direct quotes over here. We're referencing direct quotes.
these are actual things that this bitch has
Yeah.
said. And I don't use that term loosely. That is a direct quote from me. She is a like she's
Yeah,
like the
you're
top tier
saying it with
of
your full
bitch.
chest, Robert.
Yes. But it's crazy because there's a lot of people who I do not agree with politically in any stretch of the imagination, but I'm starting to see like people who I don't those people who I don't agree with politically at all. They're like, yeah, Joe Biden sucks. It's like, yeah, I told you. It's like, and it's like, yeah, but like all the people in his cabinet suck. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I told you. And like all the stuff that I've been talking about that you thought I was a crazy conspiracy theorist with a tinfoil hat, and I was like, like like Mel Gibson in the movie Conspiracy Theory. You thought I was that guy,
Oh yeah.
but no, I was right. All the shit that you like were laughing at me about
Yeah.
all of a sudden has come true
Yeah.
now.
And I mean, yeah, and
I'm a
like
crazy
people
person,
saying
right?
that
Yeah.
Trump would have brought would have started World War III. Guess what didn't happen when Trump was president? World War III. But now
I
that
mean,
Biden's president, what's very
not
close,
just not World War III, any wars, any new war, there was no new wars.
right? And guess
And he was
what?
trying to get us out of like other wars that we were already in that we didn't need to be
Right?
in.
Guess who Vladimir Putin's just recently said like he would prefer to be president of the United States. Did he
Joe
say Trump?
Biden.
No. He
No.
said Joe Biden.
So here's the crazy thing is that people bitch about like, oh, Trump is friends to these dictators. Okay, yeah, maybe he said nice things to them to their
Yeah, yeah.
face
He
so that
said some,
maybe he
maybe
could
he said some
because so that
complimentary, like flat, some things that some words that might flatter, these dictators.
what
Sure.
were his actions to them? What were his actions? Not friendly, that's for damn
Yeah,
sure.
like calling Kim Jong Un Rocket Man, or saying that it's like, oh, I have a big
A badass to his face.
I have a big red button on my desk, and mine actually works.
Literally to his face, he called him a fat fuck. That I mean, it's maybe not quite in those terms, but
Not maybe not
that was
literally
the
saying fat
sentiment.
fuck, but he probably did make mention of his weight.
Yeah. And like even though he said like, "Oh, is Xi Jinping?" Like, yeah, we had friendly conversations. I considered him a friend, but you know what? He treated China like
Yeah,
shit.
he imposed tariffs. He yeah he made it very he leveled the economic playing field between United States and China. Things that
Yeah.
but what did what as soon as Biden got into office, what did he do? He reversed everything that Trump did, capriciously, might I add. Now he didn't take time and just he nixed the things that didn't work. He nixed everything. Um,
Yeah.
um,
Like
without what's that
he
word?
made sure that he had enough strength in his brain and hand to make to reverse everything.
Yeah, he indiscriminately undid every one of Trump's policies. And again, not under to stress, not just the ones that didn't work, like legitimately just did not work or had no effect at all. He indiscriminately undid all of the policies. So like the Remain in Mexico, the tariffs on Chinese goods, um,
This is why we
on and on and
cannot
on.
live by executive order because it's every time it's going to be, oh, well, this president, my political opponent did this. Now I'm going to use my executive order power to undo all of that and do this other stuff. And then the next person's going to come in and just do it the other way. This is why we need to have a legislature that actually, I don't know, fucking legislates and doesn't put these stupid. So here's the other thing too that we're going to talk about based off of our topic. This goes back to the idea of the quote unquote border bill, which not only doesn't protect our border, it's also giving a whole bunch of money over to Ukraine. I think it was like 90, what was it, like 90 billion or some crazy amount of money.
Whole of
It
a
should be
lot more
zero.
money than what they were like, you know, you know, planning on to give to for measly border security.
Yeah. The thing is, it doesn't protect our border, and it gives these like arbitrary numbers of, well, we can declare emergency if there's more than 5,000 people a day or more than like this amount a month. You think that like, and if you
Right, and
don't
then
do these
it's
things here
right,
or
and
there,
they call a cap for the day. So after the sun goes down, the sun comes back up, new day, so they can let in more people, and then up until they reach that cap.
hmm hmm so you know that the powers that be are going to make sure that those numbers stay within that line, and you can only declare an emergency for a certain amount of days if it does reach that amount. And on top of that, if you don't, the other stipulations that are not based off our border, but giving stuff over to Ukraine or whatever, if that is not met, then there's certain like legal um, legalities that take place. Essentially, uh, if you, I think it goes until like 2026 or whatever. So essentially, like whoever the next president's going to be. So if that's Donald Trump, he now has to live by that bill if it is signed into law, which I don't think it will be. But still, I mean that's the idea behind it. They're trying to they know that this guy is too popular. He's gonna if he ends up becoming the Republican nominee, which he probably will be, they are already conceding defeat. They already
Right,
know that there's no
yeah, they're
way.
already putting in the booby traps so that Trump can't govern effectively.
This is I this is crazy. It's absolutely nuts
Agreed.
what's going on. And then they're trying to like do all this other stuff to like, oh well, we're just we're gonna you falsely said that your estate was worth like this amount, but it was actually worth way less than that. Oh, but you already paid back your thing, but like we wouldn't have given you those loans, so let's just say $400 million. Woo, yeah, it's like you owe the state of New York
Right,
$400 million. You fucking
but
kidding
yeah,
me?
that
Like, it's
yeah, again,
crazy.
the that case against him is prejudiciary, and the state they can't even produce a victim. You can't prosecute someone without a victim. Like
There's no victim.
there's no victim,
There's no victim. Even the state of New York is not a victim.
right? Yeah, because it wasn't like tax money he was defrauding. He got those loans from a private institution, right? And he with and they made
Paid them
and
back
they
with
made all yeah
interest.
with interest, and they made with
They really made money.
they
Who
made
fought
all of
them?
like the arrangements, like all like in the the party of the first party, and like so they have like certain benchmarks, certain conditions. They made it Trump and the banks made all those conditions. They gave him the loan. Trump took that money and invested it, or did whatever he did, and then he paid it back with interest.
Here's the
Who was
scary
hurt
part. Here,
in that entire transaction? Who was hurt?
also, who hasn't done this? Who hasn't done this? Anybody that is trying to buy a home or trying to buy or sell property, they're doing exactly what he did. Maybe to a lesser degree, yes. But good lord.
Yeah, maybe
Like
like
this
Joe
is a
Schmo, he wanted to take out some equity
like, and the
from his
governor of New
house.
York.
Yeah, maybe like some Joe Schmo wants to take equity out of his house to make some improvements, right? He takes the equity, he gets the equity, and then he puts it into his house, and he improves it, and he raises the value, which then puts that equity back into the house, and then some. Like, who is exactly hurt by that transaction? Nobody.
Nobody. And that's what everybody does. And the governor of New York says like, "Now don't worry everybody.
Oh yeah, don't. Oh
This
yeah,
is just
Trump
like
is a
this is
special
a
case. We're not like he's especially dangerous. That's why we went after him. But everyone else is fine. We're not going to go after anybody in the same way.
that should terror and even like even people who are like the most liberal of liberals like this should frighten you people. Like this is some scary shit that they're trying to pull off. It's like, you think this arbitrary
Right?
bullshit that like they're
Yeah.
trying to
In the
pull?
words of the great John McClane, "Welcome to the party, pal."
Yeah. It's that's what I'm saying. I'm finding more people it's like, well, welcome to the party. You're seeing all like the crazy bullshit that you laughed at me, for calling out before, and that thinking I'm like oh, you're crazy, Rob. You're crazy. Who? No, that's never gonna happen. It's like it's
Happening
happening.
right
It's been
now.
happening. You just weren't paying attention.
Yeah, and then it's like yeah, it's like the
Uh,
one question that they don't answer. It's like if they can do this to Trump, why wouldn't they do this to you?
yeah, exactly. You, the
Yeah.
nobody. Why wouldn't
Why
they do
wouldn't
it
they
to
do
you?
Trump? Like Trump at least has the resources, like because he's a billionaire. Whether you want to believe that he's actually a billionaire or not is besides the point. He has the resources to fight this thing, right? And he has the ability to at least fend it off to a certain point. What about you? What if they came after you in the same way or for the same exact reason? What are you gonna do?
Yeah,
Do you have a couple million dollars in your back pocket to spend on legal defense, like on par with Donald Trump? No, you're gonna get
yeah.
fucking
You're just gonna
steamrolled.
have to say it's yeah. You're just gonna have to say it's
Right.
Chinatown. So you can't fight City Hall.
Like, I'll have what
Is
she's
That's what
having.
it is. But so here's the other thing too that's going on with the border too that I also see as a significant issue is what uh even with quote unquote our side of the aisle, people who call themselves conservatives, why they don't fight against this or why they don't give a shit. Like literally, there's like one senator that I can name that is actually fighting against this. It's Rand
Yeah.
Paul. Uh,
Yeah, and
it's literally
the
the
only
one senator that I
representative that I know, well, I mean there are a bunch, but the only well-known representative is Thomas Massey.
yeah. It's just like there's I can literally count on one hand the number of representatives that actually give a shit about the Americans. It's not very many. Uh, but yeah, he it's what's happening is that we know having an open border allows for human trafficking, and the people that are profiting off of that are a lot of these politicians, whether it be through the cheap labor, or it's maybe they are actually benefiting from the sexual slavery. I mean, God, I mean, why do you think that all the Epstein shit has been just stuffed down the memory? They're trying to get rid of that as quickly as
Yeah, it's all swept
possible
under the rug.
because I think we're gonna. Yeah, it's both sides of the aisle that are involved in that in
Yeah, I
some
mean,
form or
yeah, those of you
fashion.
who don't know, like, yeah, Madison Cawthorn, he basically told them, like, yeah, they're constantly inviting me to like sex orgies because
Yeah,
yeah, because
it's happening,
for those of you who
folks.
don't know, Madison Cawthorn was a junior representative from Ohio, Iowa,
Some like yeah,
some Midwest
things like
town, yeah,
Ohio.
yeah, and
Yeah,
what is it? And he basically blew the like not blew the whistle, he squealed, and he was like saying like yeah, like all these like even like
I laughed at him too.
Republican
People, the
representatives,
media laughed at
yeah,
him.
Republican represent even like it wasn't just like the Democratic side, it was Republican senators that would like invite him out to these sex parties. And then
He's like,
and because he
no.
wouldn't partake, guess what happened to him? He got fucking primaried.
Yeah. And that's where you have to like obviously like, that's interesting. Why would that happen? Well, it's because both sides of the aisle, with people in government, they profit off of this stuff. They are probably within. They're getting someone, if not just kickbacks, if not like just actually involved in this stuff. And so you have that. You also have these people also want to stay in power to, you know, get all that taxpayer money for themselves, which is not going to like what it's supposed to go to. It's going to countries that hate us or, uh, just they are corrupt governments that have been put in power to, just like our government is, and they want to keep that train going. So you create a voter base that is going to keep voting the same way, keeping the same type of people in power. And the other thing that also I heard, just as a thought, or at least a theory, which also kind of concerns me too, is we had with COVID, we had a lot of people in, the military that were essentially ousted out. Oh, you're not going to get the jab? Okay, well, you're gone. You're, doesn't matter how long you have in, you're either a, a forced retirement or you're just booted out. And so that left the military with a lot of, vacancies. And then they tried all this, the oh well, we're going all the woke stuff. You have, what was that general who was talking about, was like, I want to know about, white rage. I forgot who that guy's name was.
Oh, that was
But you
that
have
was
all
General
these.
Millie.
Yeah, Millie, thank you.
Yeah,
I couldn't. I knew
it
it
wasn't
started with
even
an
a,
M, but
okay.
it's
And
just
then
like,
also just to reiterate the point, he's not actually a soldier. He didn't go to West Point.
he's a
He
politician.
no, he wasn't. He was a lawyer who I forget what his how he got in, like how he became a general, but he didn't go to West Point. He never like served.
He's like, what's her face? The it's
Oh yeah,
what the fuck?
the
What's his
deputy,
name?
yeah, Levine,
Yeah, what's his face?
yeah,
Levine. Thank you. Uh, but yeah, not a real
yeah,
soldier.
not an actual admiral, not someone who's actually served. They just got they got the rank because they served.
Yeah, so you have these people who are promoting a very leftist ideology of like, oh well, transgenders and all, should be in the military too, and, blah blah blah. And now you have a bunch of people who's like they don't want to go in the military because of that very thing. It's like, I don't want to be a part of that. That sounds stupid. I'm not defending the country. I'm defending some other BS that I don't want to defend. So the recruiting for the military is very low right now. So how do you replace those numbers? Well, you have to allow an open border, and you give a promise of citizenship to the people that are coming across the border if they sign up for the military. Now, when it comes to if there is some sort of revolt or revolution, you now have a military that is, does not have those American ideals. They were just given citizenship for free. They don't believe in the Constitution. They don't believe in the ways of of what America stands for. And so they're more willing to go up against the American populace to allow the government to do what they want. Now, does this happen with your or my lifetime? I don't know. But if we are not careful, we are fast approaching that problem being something that could potentially be happening.
Mm.
And that's going to come off as like, Rob, you're a crazy person. Why would you say something like that? That's a crazy conspiracy theory. It's like, no, I don't think so. because come 30 years from now, I'm going to look like a genius.
Hmm.
If we continue down the same path, that's the thing. If we don't get to that path, I'm very happy. Now, I'll gladly say, like, well, woo, we dodged one. But that is what's going on right now. We're heading in that direction.
Right.
Now, we've always had people who have like they want to become because they they love America and they want to become American citizens. We have had people go into the military because of that, because it is you get a faster track towards citizenship. But those people actually love the American Constitution. They love the United States of America, and they
Well,
want to
right.
be
Yeah.
here.
They
Those people are
they want to
fine.
assimilate.
They have assimilated, but the people that they're wanting to bring into the military don't give a shit about assimilation. They're going to do whatever they're going to do, and the consequences be damned.
Indeed. Yeah. I mean, yeah, all this like unfettered, unvetted, uh, illegal migration. Like how are we supposed to know who anybody is? Because a lot of the times these people get rid of their documentation. Like they get rid of their passports. They get rid of anything like that was issued by their home government. And so they can come and like say whoever they are. And like there's no way to verify who they are because they threw away um, their documentation. I mean, what is it? There are reports that like in like the Rio Grande and things like that, and small like water passages. There's like an accumulation of like all like these passports from like all sorts of different countries because people are getting rid of it as soon as they have are in visual range of the border.
Yeah. The and people are going to hear what we're saying, and they're going to say, "Oh, well, you just don't like brown people or what?" It's like this is not a skin color issue. This is a nationalism issue, and people are going to hear the term nationalism and they're going to think, "Oh, well, that's racist." It's like, why? Why is it racist when you have other
Yeah,
countries
when it's not
who
just yeah, when
say,
it's not just like people from Mexico or Central America or South America. You have people literally coming across from the Atlantic and also the Pacific. Like the number of Chinese nationals that are crossing the border right now, particularly in San Diego, is like unheard of. Like yeah, like
alarming?
4 years ago, I forget. I just because what is it? I saw a reporter that I follow that's been covering the border. Um, he just recently put out something and it said like the number of Chinese people that were encountered at the border like 4 years ago was like 2,500 in like 4 years ago. So that would be what 2000. Why can't I do math right now? 2000 2000 uh, uh, 2020
Yeah,
2020. It was 2,500 and then in this year there's been like what like something on the lines of like 25,000
yeah,
Chinese nationals that have been caught like at the border, and that's
it's
just the ones that
insane.
have been caught.
Yeah,
And so
yeah, it's a and it's not. Listen, it's not people. It's like, oh, I'm just looking for a better life, and I'm here with my family. It's not that. It really isn't that. You have a bunch of people who are coming over because it is a invasion of
yeah.
people. It's not
Well, I mean, look at the what happened just recently in New York with the attack on the two cops. And then and some of the and then like and I think just recently there was another attack on police, and a bunch of those people who were like booked, but then ultimately released because of the no zero bail bullshit. A lot of them were found out to be have gang affiliations.
Yep. And I know people out there who live out there, and it's like this is fucking ridiculous. Like, why is it that? And it's not because they don't have a racist bone in their body. But it's like, why is it that we are allowing these people who aren't citizens, who don't like this country, to just be here, and there's no consequences, there's no nothing, and they're treated with kid gloves, and they can just fucking do whatever they want. That's ridiculous. And yet I'm the stooge because I live by the law, I do the right things, and I get shafted.
Yeah, I mean, what is it? A friend of mine who just got married. Um, his new wife is from another country, and right now they're going through the whole immigration thing. And I didn't tell her this, but I want. But there was a moment where I wanted to joke and been like, oh, you could have avoided all this headache, paperwork if you just, came in, if you just drive, if you
Illegally.
drive, 4 hours down to Mexico, cross the border, and then came back over, you would have been able to forego all the headache
Claim
of
asylum.
claim asylum,
Yeah.
and you could have skipped all the headache of like the paperwork and waiting to hear back, and
Yeah, it's
it's
a
a
pain
pain
in
in
the
the
ass because
ass,
I'm going through the same goddamn thing with my wife.
right? And yeah, and you're you doing it the right way is also not
Yeah.
it's I would imagine it's not making your wallet any heavier.
No, it's very fucking expensive, let me tell you. I've probably spent close to $6,000 in legal
Jesus,
fees and all the processing fees and
right?
shit that we've had to pay.
See,
It's
that's what you
crazy.
get for flying on import.
Well, there's that. It's I tell her every day. It's like, you know what? I spent a lot of money getting you over here, so shut
Right.
up. No, I
Like
don't
just
say
shove and
that.
make me a sandwich. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's something more that I would say. Um, but I mean, everything you said, is valid. But I think there's another angle that we should be looking at it, and that is one of finances. Um, I think Joe Biden is a really good symbol of the majority demographic. Because I mean, if you look at recent census, um, recent census reports, you'll find that the average age of an American is like in their 70s. The average. That means like the most uh, the biggest age demographic in the United States is like people in their 70s.
Jesus Christ.
And then also with
That's actually a problem in like a lot of countries. Now that I think about it, because Japan has a similar
yeah.
issue, and Europe has a similar issue
Mhm.
too.
But with that,
Well, as far as like the actual people who are like living in those countries, like actual, like nationally,
right?
like
Yeah. So the average, the most people, within a demographic is 70-year-olds. So they make up the
yeah,
bulk of the population, which means they make the bulk of the the voting populace. But they are also the biggest who are probably out of debt or closest to being out of debt. And so
yeah,
and coupled with our declining birth rate, they're not as many loans are being given out. I mean, and then also with the kind of the people waking up to the notion that college is a bunch of bullshit. Uh, you know, college attendance has dropped, and along and with that goes the loans to go to school.
Yep.
And so if you take all those individual things in totality, what you have is you have the makings of a financial collapse because everyone who's ever had debts has like paid them off or are close to paying them off, and then also people are not taking out as many loans as they once did. And we're no longer we are America is in a debt economy. All right, that means and our money is no longer like backed by anything. So it's what your favorite thing is you can print as much of it as you want.
Oh my God! Don't even get me fucking started on
And
that.
so because of our economy is based upon debt. If there is no debt, then there is no economy. And so the other reason why they're bringing in people from the third world is so that they can then, like many of Americans have been addicted to the slow drip of debt. So like yeah, so like if you heard, I don't know if you've been keeping up, but there are NGOs or like what is it? New York gonna get proposing to give migrants um, like like $800 credit cards. Why would they
Oh my
why would they
God!
why would they
Why?
be given credit cards so that they could be put into immediate debt?
That's crazy, dude. It's Yeah, we are closing in on 100 years of the start of the depression. We are going to go into I have a feeling we're closing in on a massive depression similar to what we had in the 30s.
Very likely. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know if you had like taken time to like consider that point, but yeah, that's they're pumping because again, principles of if you principles of economics, like money tends to follow youth. So the younger, I mean, not just like in terms of like newness, but just like the younger the population, the more that the money will go to it, because because
Because they're not going to give loans to people who are older because like there's less of a chance that they're going to be able to pay back before they die.
exactly.
And so, but with like these younger people coming into the country that oh, we'll just put them in debt immediately. It's slavery. That's what it is. This is a modern version of slavery. We listen to that from an actual slave that we got to hear from,
That's right.
talking about like why he wouldn't have like credit cards, or he
Or
wouldn't
he
like
wouldn't buy
buy stuff that
anything on
he couldn't
credit.
afford
Yeah,
right up front. He wouldn't buy anything on credit because that is slavery. And once he was free, he refused to become a slave ever, ever, ever
exactly.
again.
See, yeah, because especially the New York thing, like why would they be getting them credit cards? Why wouldn't it just be like $800 prepaid like debit cards, right?
It's high tech slavery, just like it was high tech lynching for Justice Thomas. That's what's happening now.
Exactly, because everyone in this country, because
Because
everyone in this country is like whoever like has got a loan or is getting a loan is like we're essentially we're saturated. The market's saturated, right? There's no one else to like give loans out to. We're everyone who pretty much every the moment you're born you're in debt. So yeah, so if they're constantly not creating more debt, then they can't keep the economy going.
yeah, it's yeah we're The middle class is completely gone, and you're either rich or you're poor. That's what we're and yet at the same time, they're also just the government is going after people's livelihoods just because they have the wrong political views, and so you throw those people in prison or essentially destroy their livelihoods, and you bring in other people to replace them that are not American
Hmm.
citizens. And you just kind of like deputize them into American citizenship, and they don't have the same respect for what it means to be an
Oh,
American citizen. So
just rec-
you can change the rules willy nilly based off of that.
in light of, I'm so glad you mentioned that because I just heard about this morning about how uh, a Chinese national was just elected to the election board
Yeah, oh
in San
yeah,
Francisco.
in San Francisco. Yeah,
She's not a citizen. I'm not even sure if she has a green card, but she for damn sure she's not a U.S. citizen. But
no.
she was elected to the board of election supervisors.
How did Eric Swalwell get her into this position? Because
You know,
he's fucking all those
I know,
Chinese
right? He's fucking all them
spies.
Chinese
So
spies.
crazy.
Yeah, I mean they're already like
It's
in
nuts.
some counties in New York State, they're already allowing non-citizen voting. Yeah, they claim again they claim that it's just for the local or municipal voting, but it's like yeah, that's just like one that's just one slippery step away from making it federal.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
It's just it's maddening. It's really maddening.
yeah,
And part of me is like, well, I don't know, man. Like we're yeah, I'm gonna be voting this year, but like I don't know if it's gonna do anything. And it's more of like, do I just fucking give up and just watch the world burn before I die and this country just burn away? And I just enjoy, watching movies and doing the things that I enjoy until I eventually pass away, and then just who gives a shit? I'm dead.
yeah, I know
I feel like
yeah, it's very frustrating. It's very disheartening to think about it because like I mean like for me for me and you Rob like the America that we lived in is long since been gone. There's no more of the days where you just you go out hang out with your friends all day, unsupervised, and coming, and then you just come home when when the street lights come on.
yeah, that's gone.
Those days are gone. But
You have like this like nerfing of everything. So you don't get to really have, even if you're a kid, you're not having fun because they're trying to cut off your cock or cut off your breasts, and tell you like, oh, it's okay to have like anal sex, and here's how you stroke a cock, and it's fun to have explore everybody's bodies, and having sex with these weird adults that want to touch you. It's okay. Yeah, that's crazy. You have we're not actually teaching anybody anything, so they don't know about how the country works. They don't have a respect for the country. They're told if they have white skin, you're told you're racist because of you're white, so you're racist, and you had a lot of racist ancestors, and that uh, and they teach any other minority that it's like, well, these are the people that were trying to ruin you, and you should hold some animosity towards them, and it's your right to. And so you have this is where you have the racial strife that we have in this country nowadays, which is worse than it's ever been.
Hmm.
So I don't know. It's we have a pull your kids. I don't. I think we have to just go to extreme measures if we're gonna have any sort of semblance of to get back to normal. You have to almost recorrect in some crazy ways. Take your kids out of public school. Don't, um, you know, maybe don't go to 4-year college. Maybe go to a trade school. Um, to, I don't know. Just do crazy things. Don't fuck. I'm almost at the point where it's like, don't pay your fucking taxes. They can't arrest everybody.
Yeah, but I mean, I think but it's also but I think the answer, the solution's right there. It's like you just have to do it yourself. If the government's not going to build a wall, then build a fence. If the schools
Yeah,
aren't going to teach your kids, then you're going to have to teach your kids yourself. I mean, I know, like, everything seems,
it's gonna take sacrifice and something else to do something else to do the right
yeah. I
thing.
mean, every disaster there's an opportunity. And as black pill as we may be sounding, um, it's just it's just one more incentive, like all the craziness that's happening. It's just one more incentive to uncouple yourself from the system. And I'm not saying like go like I'm not advocating for revolution or anything like that, because despite all of the the shenanigans and tomfoolery uh, that the leadership is perpetuating, you know, if if they try to go full totalitarian on us, that'd be it. There'd be no there'd be no winning. At least, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, for as much as we bitch about the government's doing this or the government's doing that, they ensure they. I mean, we still have the post office. We still have mostly functioning roads. We have mostly functioning, infrastructure. Um, so use whatever you know that that's still offered, and build yourself up. Build a strong community around yourself. Of like-minded people. Try to rely as little as, and I'm not even talking about the government, but it's like even just like supermarkets. Because another thing is like, oh, like they're feeding us crap. It's like, okay, well then maybe you have to step up and grow a garden. Get to know a local beef supplier.
Yep.
Every disaster has an opportunity. So that so use it. So
Yeah.
take it.
It's not. Yeah. It's never completely hopeless. Yeah. As much as I would like to think that sometimes, it's really not completely hopeless.
Yeah.
It just might take some extreme measures to do something different and to be that change
It's
around
funny.
you.
I, I, I foresaw the schooling crisis like 8-10 years ago. I remember this. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I
because
know, right?
literally, because I mean, not in specifics, but just like generally. Um, because a friend of mine, he was a teacher. He recently left the profession. But he was talking about, like,
Mhm.
how it's like really hard to be, even back then, 10 years ago, talking about how being a teacher was like really hard, and I told him, like, hey, why don't you start a school? It's like, what? What are you talking about? It's like, yeah, just start a school. Like, because especially at, it was someone from my church, and and at my church, we had a lot. We have a lot of teachers at our church. I said, yeah, you already have the staff,
Mm.
right? Just open up a school, amongst our members. Because I'm sure, the other teachers, they're probably seeing the same thing you're seeing, and so why not just start a school yourselves? First start with
Yeah,
our members, and then maybe maybe some of their friends will see what they're doing, and you could and slowly you could start building out and build your own school, and you could teach what you want to teach.
yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
he ultimately didn't take my advice, but yeah, but again,
Oh, yeah.
but he eventually decided to get out of teaching, and he's on a different path now.
But yeah, it's like, well, it's like I don't want to be
Hmm.
catering to evil, so
Right, and I think the church, we should have a stronger stance as well, because because I don't know why, but we allow people who don't believe what we believe, or who are openly hostile to what we believe, use our words against us. I mean, because they
yeah,
because they always point to that line that Jesus said, like, oh, whoever like whoever you do to the least of these, that you've done to me. But I mean, again, like that, they use that line, and even some well-meaning Christians use that line, but they use it out of context, because when he says the least of
yep,
these, my brothers, that means other believers. The least of these, my brothers.
yeah,
And I mean, and especially on the border issues and migration. It's like no one's saying that you can't come to this country, you can't migrate to a new place, but I mean there's a proper procedure. I mean, even like there's no such.
yeah. You treat them yeah, you treat them fairly and you treat them with respect, but they also have to come in through
Right.
the
Because I
right
mean,
channels. Just like we would have, like, let's say we were trying to emigrate to Mexico or England or Denmark or Hungary. We would have to go through the proper channels to do
right, but
that.
even in the Christian faith,
So why is it so evil?
but, e-
Yeah,
but even
even
in the
though we're
Christian faith,
Christians. So
there's a,
why
there's a
is it
there's a
so
proper
evil?
way of doing things. I'm not a smart man, but I can definitely say there's no such thing as an illegal immigrant in heaven. All right, because
No.
yeah, because Jesus
Yeah.
said,
No one
yeah,
no one's
no one's
breaking
hopping the
into heaven.
border, into heaven. Okay, Jesus himself said,
That's actually that is a great point, my friend, because yeah, you can't cheat your way there. You can't just cross the border
exactly,
willy-nilly. There's a lot of people that get there at the last second, but they get there
exactly,
legitimately.
exactly, and it's so funny, and
It might be at death's
it's
door at their last seconds, but they have
yeah, like yeah,
they
the
made the
thief on the
right
cross, like yeah,
decision.
he was a last minute uh, uh, convert, but he did it the right way. He accepted
But
Jesus, and then Jesus said to him, like, oh,
he accepted the
mhm,
terms of heaven
yes.
to get
And it's so
there.
funny. It's so
He believed in like what was being what the statutes of heaven were about,
yes.
and
And it's
he got
interesting because
in.
no other like even Christian, like, or like or Christian content creator I've seen has ever made that made that point. It's like there's no such thing.
That is a
Yeah,
great
there's no such thing as
point.
illegal immigration in heaven.
I'm gonna have to write that down because that
Yeah,
is
I
a
yeah. There's
that is
I like
brilliant.
of all the Christian content that I've seen, like and some
That would be a extremely unpopular sermon, but I would be willing to give it.
yeah. I mean, it's kind of came to me because it's like because his own words, Jesus said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but through me." It's like but through me. So just like no one, only one
There's only
gate,
one gate.
only one
There's
gate,
one
one
gate,
process, only
have to
one
come through it.
naturalization process for heaven, and that is through Jesus Christ.
And you can say that you've gone through the gate, but unless you've actually gone through it, I'll say like I never knew you. You never came through the gate. Because there's that passage in I think it's Matthew. I could be wrong on that, but essentially about where uh Jesus is talking about false teachers who
Hmm.
claim that they know him and they teach in his name, but they never pass through the gate. They're teaching something false and they don't believe in him. And it's like, yeah, I never knew you. Go away. Um, and so there's a lot of Christians like, oh, that means you can lose your salvation. It's like, no, that's not what it's saying at all. You clearly did not read the context of
Right, because
what's going on there.
yeah, because there's all these illusions that like whoever are his. Like they'll know the sheep will know the shepherd's voice, and um, whoever I forget. Is there another one where it's like like those in my hands are can't be removed.
I feel like I would be excommunicated from church from telling about like there's no illegal
But
immigration
I
in
mean,
heaven.
it tracks though, right? It tracks. It
You know
tracks.
what
There's
though?
no such
It's
thing as
true.
legal immigration in
It's
heaven.
true. It's very true.
And as unpopular as it is to say right now, that is the truth.
Now, I'm not saying that you illegal immigrant who comes into the United States illegally, that
Right.
doesn't mean you can't get into
That's a
heaven.
completely
That's not
different
what I'm
thing.
saying.
That's a completely different topic of discussion altogether.
Dude, that would be the type of sermon that I would give, and I would be booed off the fucking stage, but I would do it anyways, just
Right.
because to
Exactly.
prove a point.
I mean, just so there's only one way to get into heaven. There should only be one way to enter into a country, and that is the lawful prescribed uh, process in which to do so.
Yeah,
Ain't no
and that is
illegal
through
aliens in
Jesus
heaven.
Christ.
Maybe in hell,
Maybe
but
in hell, but not in heaven.
yeah. I mean, when I thought of this, it was so obvious. Like, oh my god, that's the argument. Like, could you? Yeah, because any, especially for those like quote unquote well
What
meaning,
pastor is
yeah, like and
actually talking about that?
especially for like those like well meaning Christians, who like and like all you have to confront all you have to do is confront them with like how do you get into heaven? It's like through Jesus. It's like and Jesus is the only way, correct? Yeah, it's like then it's like
Yeah.
do you think
See,
there's
that's
such a
where like
thing
see
as illegal immigration in heaven? No, obviously not.
that and that would also be something you have that would be a message catered to
Exactly.
other Christians. Because the people who are not Christians, they don't believe either they're not a believer yet or they don't believe in that. Well, that message is going to be on deaf ears. But for believers who profess to be who have given their lives over to Jesus, and yeah, they want to be kind to everybody. And the reality is like that's not always the best thing. And that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be kind to the people that we meet or whatever, but there is a certain point where like we have to realize that uh in the same vein, it might be mean. It might seem to be mean that like, oh well, we have to enforce the laws of the land. It's that are not you know a lot of the laws of our land are not against the Bible. In fact, they are good for our benefit. Um, and it's not a good thing to allow people who are breaking those laws that are uh, and it doesn't matter what the media says or what whatever politician says about like, oh, it seems so mean that we are just not allowing people to come in. Well, we don't it's not because we don't care about those. In fact, it's the exact opposite. We care about those people. And the reality is like, think about it, like we can't if we don't allow illegal immigration into heaven. Jesus doesn't allow that. So why should we allow people to come into our country who don't go through the proper channels, just like another country wouldn't allow us to go in without the proper channels? But we can't just go into other countries without like I mean maybe Canada or whatever, but like you have to get a visa and you have to state why you're going into that country and you have to meet certain criteria to go into that country. That's just the visit, mind you, not actually become a citizen of said country. So why is it that we are just allowing everyone to come into our country without following those same
Right.
procedures?
Yeah.
That doesn't
If you
seem
don't
right.
enforce
And
yeah,
in
if you don't enforce
reality,
the laws about immigration, then why then do you have the right to enforce any other law like murder? Like if you don't if you you know if you're not gonna enforce the laws about immigration, then I should be able to go and kill anybody I want.
yeah, because
Exactly. The law doesn't
apparently
mean
the law
anything.
doesn't mean
So
anything.
if Pedro and Chang over there can just hop over the fence and be allowed to stay, then I should be able to go kill anybody I want.
Yeah. Uh,
Not literally. Okay, I
Crazy
know
stuff, man.
that
Crazy.
that clip could get me into trouble, but I welcome it.
Just like I'm gonna create a sermon about like there's no legal immigration in heaven, and just get booed off the stage.
Yeah.
Well, I'm an illegal immigrant. It's like, well, I don't hate you, obviously. Like, I want you. I hope that you love Jesus, and like that's
Right. Yeah.
because then you're
Because
gonna get into heaven. Like, that's
yeah.
great.
Because that's entering into a country illegally is not necessarily a
You can enter
salvific
into a country illegally.
not a self
That
yeah.
doesn't bar you from salvation. It's like you can be an illegal immigrant in this country and still be a
Right. It's not
Christian.
yeah.
It's
Legally yeah.
I just like I might be able I can murder somebody and yet I can be
Yeah.
redeemed and
Yeah.
still
Enter
become a
yeah.
Christian.
Yeah.
It's that
Legal
doesn't bar
immigration
you
isn't a
from
salvific
salvation.
issue.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not, yeah. It's not like you're blaspheming against the Holy Spirit and just, you don't
Right.
believe anything about it and expecting to get into heaven. It's just not, yeah, it's not the same thing.
Indeed.
Let's get into wait, what was
Well,
our
yeah, this
last
is the last
topic?
topic. I don't imagine it going very long, but who with us, who knows? But who the hell
Oh,
knows?
who the hell knows?
But yeah, again, another issue, another topic that you brought up, and that's kind of it was what uh,
Well, although it's
decline in
in the sense
quality
of
in
like where
terms
we
of
feel like
entertainment.
yeah. Well, we think that we're losing in one sense, but in the other sense, we're winning and stuff because a lot of these corporate entities that have been trying to push a lot of the agenda that we've just blasted in our last topic, they're failing. Disney has been failing. Budweiser has been failing, and I think a lot of these companies are continually losing millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars, where it's affecting them. People are getting fired. People are laid off. Not necessarily fired, but like laid off because they just don't have the funding. They're losing out on the funding. And I think that the cultural pushback on whatever the mainstream culture is, we are I have a feeling that we are going through a similar to like what we got in like the late 60s, early 70s, where it was moving much more towards like a liberal agenda. I think we're having that same type of pushback in more of the conservative direction, back towards like normalcy a little bit. And so what was kind of at the counterculture movement back in uh, like the 60s and 70s, we are now at that counterculture movement in this current culture, and we're pushing back against the authorities and places like Disney and a lot of these like big movie studios and these big franchises that are trying to push an agenda, the message, if you will. Those things are failing. And I like to see it because that means that we are uh, the that means that our choice of not engaging in those things is making a difference. And I like to see that. So in some ways, like while we feel like we're losing, we're also winning at the same time.
Well, for me at this point, I think like walking away is an option, and I think that walking away from like the institutions, as it were, is really the only thing we have left. And not just walking away, but also creating our own stuff, creating a parallel entertainment industry. I think would be the way to go.
I think that's starting to happen somewhat. I'm seeing more of a semi-independent movement in the film and TV industry, just a little bit. No, it's not like completely established, but it's starting to burgeon just a little bit.
Right. Yeah. Like you have your Daily Wires, you have your PragerU's, your Blazes, your Blaze TVs, and just the independent content creation. Rumble's becoming huge, or I don't know if it'll ever get to the place where it'll actually supplant YouTube, but right now it's definitely offering an alternative for a lot of content creators and also a lot of people to consume content. Um, but yeah, I don't think we should ever get to a place where like we ever consider something too big to fail. Because it's like that's like how the mentality of like the banking industry had. It's like, oh, like these huge, like these big institutions like Bank of America or Wells Fargo or Merrill Lynch. They thought like, oh, we're too big to fail. And to a certain degree, they're right because they immediately got bailed out. But because they essentially kind of monopolized. Because before there used to be a lot of smaller banks, but more and more they've been kind of consolidating. Hell, even my relatively small bank that I mean, when I opened up my first checking account, it was with a very small local bank, like so local. It was like near the house that it was like a block of like my first bank was a small local bank that was literally a block away from my house that I grew up in, and then that got bought out by
Yeah,
a slightly bigger branch that was a more like statewide, and then just recently my more local state bank got bought out by not multinational, but a national uh, bank, national bank.
National Bank.
Um, and entertainment's kind of had that same trajectory or same kind of pattern.
A lot
Yeah,
of things have had that trajectory.
before there used to be like a whole bunch of different like movie studios, and then but then slowly but surely, they started consolidating, and it was kind of like the reverse, kind of like a reverse breakup of the oil industry, where you had like Standard Oil, and then you busted it up into all these smaller entities. But what ended up happening was like they kind of amalgamated and kind of came back together to the point where like it's not big one big corporation anymore, but it's like like maybe like four or six big companies.
Yeah, and maybe we had to look at maybe seeing that where we see them acting as one, even though like, oh no, we're four separate entities or like six separate entities. It's like, yeah, but you're acting as one. You're violating antitrust laws. Maybe it's time to like we have to act on that and you break them up. Either you stop what you're doing, you stop working together, quote unquote, or we break you up. And like they did with like Standard Oil and a lot of that stuff that like during the Teddy Roosevelt
Yeah,
era, not the
kind of.
FDR era, but the Teddy Roosevelt era, where there was a lot of the breaking up of the monopolies. Because we're getting to that point. Like, think about it. Like when you're going when you're buying cable, you don't really have a choice. There's all these companies, right? You have there's AT&T, there's
Yeah,
Verizon,
Spectrum or Frontier.
there's
Yeah,
Spectrum or this. But I was oh no, but Spectrum is the only one that
right.
handles
Yeah, and
your
what they
area, so
do
you
is
can
they
only
carve
get
it up. I
Spectrum.
mean, because um, I remember one of the few times, yeah, one of
So
the
they're
few times that
working
my bank
together.
was moved. You know, we did a brief stint in Granada Hills, and like we couldn't bring along our AT&T phone number. We had to get a Verizon phone number, and we had to change our home phone number. And it's like, oh, well, why is that? It's like,
Yeah,
oh, well, like we it's essentially the company's carved up, their territory. So it's like only yeah. So from like in Granada Hills, it's only this company. In Chatsworth, it's this company. In Northridge, it's this company. And so on and so forth. So like these companies, they again
yeah. So
they collude with each other, and so they're like, all right, you get this.
they're
it's
legally
like mob
doing what it
families.
means to not be a
It's
monopoly,
mob
but they're working.
families.
Yeah, but they're working as a Yeah, they're mob. That's exactly. It's exactly that way. They are operating within the law, but in reality, they are one monopoly
Yeah,
working together.
or they could be separate entities, but they again they're colluding for mutual benefits. Or like, all right, fine, like we're not gonna have the entire valley. I'm just using the valley because we live in the valley. It's like we're not gonna get the entire valley. Okay, but you get the West Valley. I'll get like the North to Mid Valley. You get the Southern Valley. And like and so that
Yeah,
that's how they divide it up, and they essentially enforce monopoly because you can't get any other service in that area because they
right.
break it up into
And so
territories.
they can charge whatever price that they want,
Mm-hmm.
and the service isn't
Right?
good.
It's like that thing in South Park where they when they when the people of South Park they started complaining about their cable or whatever, and then just like, oh well, you have no choice, and like and like you see the representative like getting off on like how like the power that he has over the people. you know?
Yeah, I totally forgot about that episode. God
Yeah.
damn, they're so good at that. It's just it's stupid, and everyone knows it, and yet it it's just the way it is, and you're just allowed because the reason why is because these companies give kickbacks to the government, and so that's why they're allowed to do it. It's corruption upon corruption upon corruption, which is just like, oh well, they're giving us money. They're giving a. Oh, I'm a politician. They're giving us money to make sure that this happens. Oh, okay, cool. I wouldn't be able to run my next campaign if it wasn't for them. So
Precisely.
that's why nothing ever fucking changes. Is because you have these giant corporations, whether it be local or national elections, that they continue to pay these people off to fund their campaigns. And so when those people get into office, and these companies and these people hedge their bets. They fund
Mm,
several campaigns. So it doesn't matter who gets into office, they're going to get taken care of no matter what. Whether it be the trade union, whether like the giant trade unions, whether it be these Spectrum or whatever company that's like trying to set up like the cable networks, working like a mafioso family, these the Cosa Nostra families, like they are, or whether these defense contractors, it doesn't matter.
right.
Why do you think that nothing ever changes?
Right. But
And that's why you need to have people that get into government that are not involved with these people in any form or fashion, that are independently wealthy, that don't need their money to run a campaign. And I know that's a sacrifice in itself too. Like we're asking people who have the money to run these campaigns that don't need that money to be taken for their campaigns and to sacrifice for the greater good of the country. Uh,
it also harms the
I
quality of
mean,
the work, as which we're seeing in recent years. Like all basically all the stuff like on Disney Plus, like the the Disney Plus shows, like the Marvel shows, this Falcon, Winter Soldier,
horrible.
um, what is it, Secret Invasion, which I haven't seen, but I heard was bad. Uh,
the the degradation of the shows has like progressed because I was like, oh yeah, okay, WandaVision, I liked it. Falcon and Winter Soldier, I liked up until like the stupid ass speech. It's like, you got to do better, Senator. Um, I didn't. I refused to watch like the Marvels.
yeah, I
Like
passed on the Marvels too.
that was dumb. There was like
Passed
Secret
on that
Invasion.
too.
I didn't watch. Uh,
Yeah,
there's a lot of stuff I
yeah.
like passed on. I was like,
I watched the
this
first
is
season of
stupid.
Loki. Haven't seen the second one.
Loki, the first season of Loki was good. I actually really liked that. That was fine. Um, but yeah, I
But yeah,
haven't
I
seen
mean,
the
like
second
with like
season.
the Marvels, and now more recently with Madam Web, which is like, who the fuck was asking for a Madam Web movie?
Blam, like right into the fucking like, dude. Even
Dakota
Dakota,
Johnson.
what's her face? Yeah, Dakota Johnson. Not even interested in. I was like, I'm not gonna watch that film. I don't
Yeah.
care about it.
Yeah, I was
I
watching.
did
I was
it.
watching. I saw. I was
Sorry.
watching a clip from one of those panel shows with like a bunch of different independent YouTubers, and one guy, I forget who it was, but it's like oh, like like it was wondering if uh, Ellen DeGeneres funded the creation of this movie to get back at Dakota Johnson for not inviting her to her birthday.
Maybe. Oh my goodness. Yeah, and I'm not even saying that like listen, it's it's not because it's not just because it's like a female movie that I don't want to watch it. I don't want to watch it because it's not
Or like,
good.
yeah, I mean, again, since we haven't
And
seen it, but
I
the
I, I
reports that
also
we've been
love
getting about this movie have not been good.
there's like and those reports are like I can usually tell like whether it's like you know what I'm probably gonna watch it anyways or it's like oh yeah that's really bad. When the fucking actor the main actor has no interest in watching the
Or
film
does a
or like
does a shitty job promoting
promoting
it,
it
then
in
you know
any
you got a
way
turd on your hand.
because she did it for the paycheck, which is fine. I don't blame
Yeah.
the actors being in it. That's not it's not their fault. Don't blame Dakota
Yeah, I
Johnson or the
mean,
people in it.
if I'm to give
They did it
praise,
because
if I'm to give a little
yeah.
praise, like visually, like I'm impressed. I like for some of the costumes, like yeah,
The trailer looked good. I'll say
that
that the
Sweeney
trailer looked
chick,
good.
like who plays the Julia Carpenter Spider Woman. Costume was amazing.
Looked good.
If I had thumbs,
Yeah.
I'd give two thumbs up for the costume. I don't have thumbs, but
That's
if I
right, you don't
had
have
thumbs, I'd give
thumbs.
two thumbs for that
You
costume.
have
Yeah, two
two
nubs up
thumbs
for
up from
me.
Andy.
Yeah, but just for the costume, okay? Because like visually, yeah, amazing. But like even just like the trailer did not make me get excited for this movie.
I was like, I don't know, maybe it could be cool, but then like when I heard all the bashing of it, I was like, you know what? I don't even want to get involved with that. But then the other thing too is it's funny watching all these uh essentially leftist movie reviewers who are like, I'm not gonna review it because I don't talk nasty about films. Like,
What's the point?
that's
Yeah,
all
what's
you
the
fucking
point of a
do.
critic? You're
Anything that's
supposed to
like
be critical of people's work.
here's the thing. It's like they do talk bad about films, just not like when it's female or foreign led. Oh, we gotta praise that up to the skies. And but anything that has a white cast or is about men, trash it. Or anything old, trash it because oh, it's misogynistic, it's this or it's that. It's like okay, well, so you can criticize that, but not this female led woke trash that is like of these other films can't talk can't show any sort of
Yeah, I mean,
criticism about that
if we're talking about
obviously
Chris Stuckman, I think he
like
was pretty critical of Ghostbusters 2016, if I'm remembering correctly.
was he okay well
Yeah,
that is a really bad film
like I
it
haven't
is
even like
really bad
seen it in totality. I've seen like little clips and things, and every once in a while like they play it on TV, and I'm like flipping through the channels, and I'm like, oh, pass. Or like or I'll stop
I
and I'll
can't
watch
handle
like a couple of minutes
I
of it and be like, okay, that's enough.
as a man who has gone through MacGruber I would rather watch MacGruber than watch Ghostbusters 2016.
Damn, you really hate that movie.
Oh, MacGruber is fucking awful, but I would rather watch that over Ghostbusters
Okay?
2016.
How about instead would you watch on loop for 24 hours straight the Ladies Man over Ghostbusters 2016?
Ladies Man is like
No,
Casablanca
but
compared
on a
to
24-hour
Ghostbusters
loop.
2016.
Okay.
Yes, yes. As bad as that movie is, I would rather watch that
And
than
not
Ghostbusters
just watch it, but you have to
2016.
watch it on a loop for 24 hours straight.
I will like Clockwork Orange that shit over Ghostbusters 2016.
Yeah, just so I know where the line is, that's really why I asked. Just so I know what the line is.
Listen, like now, now is Ladies Man good? No, it is not a good movie. Nor and now, but there's things about Ladies Man that I did enjoy, but not much. MacGruber, I absolutely fucking
Yeah,
hated. That was a
there's really
terrible
no
movie.
redeem.
But
Well, there's other than Val Kilmer, there's really there's no real
other than
redeeming
Val
quality
Kilmer,
to MacGruber.
God, that is really low caliber. Val Kilmer must have been like, man, he must have gotten
Well, I
paid.
mean, also at the time he was probably needed to pay for cancer treatments, so.
Must be because it's like, hey, maybe like Bruce Willis, like I gotta pay the bills. Let me at least use my,
So, but yeah,
you know,
but it is heartening to see that people are like starting to like see it, because like, yeah, like we might be slightly in an echo chamber because we're constantly like kind of plugged into this sort of stuff, so we're constantly hearing the opinions of people that would agree with us, but we're also seeing it reflected in box office numbers. So and those are
well, and not just that. When the
right,
actors
but I
know
mean,
too.
yeah, but
Dakota Johnson, the star of
yeah,
the
but
fucking
just
film,
yeah, but
he doesn't
normies, the
even give a
normies
shit
are
about.
even starting to understand this,
Yeah,
and I use the box office as an indicator for normies because they're the ones who aren't as plugged in as us and who aren't like constantly engaged in the culture of things, and so they just like they go to this thing, and some people will go to this thing and watch it, but then they'll tell all their friends stay away from this movie, like the plague. And so I think, and so like the diminishing returns at the box office are a really good indicator of that people are starting to, they're starting to smell the shit, you know. Before there was like all this other stuff to kind of mask the odor, but now like because of the diminishing standards, because of like DEI and the message, it's becoming plain to see for everybody, not just those who are engaged in the culture battle, but just civilians, as it were.
and it's funny because yeah, I'll go to something that was just really mind opening to me was going to the New Beverly and just watching the seeing I went to go watch like a Clint Eastwood Western double feature. We watched The Outlaw Josie Wales and Pale Rider. It was a Wednesday night at like 7:30. The theater was fucking packed. And that goes to show you that it's like because people I think are or maybe it's because these are just the yeah, it's a 300 seat theater and these are all like super film fans. But the fact that it's packed every night pretty much, because I've gone on consecutive nights before, it goes to show you I think people are just kinda I mean, film fans, we're gonna go see the great films. We're I think people are tired of seeing, like, just garbage being thrown out there, and that doesn't mean that there's not good new films coming out. Um, I'm actually looking forward to Dune Part 2. There was, like, The Holdovers that just came out that I actually heard is pretty good. Um, there's been some other films that are, like, hit or miss. Like, some people really like it, some people really don't like it. It's a little bit of a toss-up. Um, but yeah, I would rather go watch an old film with other people that love the film in a smaller theater than go to these giant theaters to watch shit that, oh, we got to push the message. Like, why would I want to go do
I
that?
mean, you're not alone. Like a lot of people these days, they're going back to older TV shows, and then old is a relative term. But
That's why like Me TV is so huge
oh
because
yeah,
like I
that
mean
or like
that
yeah,
people love
and
Columbo,
the Andy
Mannix,
Griffith Show,
Mission Impossible, Adam 12,
yeah,
Dragnet.
Mash,
They want to
like
watch that shit
yeah,
again.
um, yeah, oh yeah, I
Mash.
Love Lucy. Yeah, it's funny because people these days they've been like asking me like, oh, what shows are you interested in? I'm just like rattling off shows from from the 90s or like 80s, and they're like, what? You're watching that? I was like, yeah. It's like Battlestar
Battlestar
Galactica.
Galactica. We talk about that all the fucking time on this show. Um, I'm also like, if I wanted to talk about something semi newer, I would say The Wire or what other show do I really like from that era? Like The Shield. That's another one that I watch a lot. 24. That's another one that
Justified.
I really love. Dexter. Those just yeah, I've heard Justified is really awesome. I need to watch that. But like Deadwood, that's another one that I think is great. Carnival, those are somewhat newer
Right, but it was
shows.
definitely
But
before
I
all of
grew up
the
watch.
agenda stuff.
Yeah, that was kind of the golden age of television because there was some great
Yeah, I mean,
stuff
I
being
still
put out.
watch old episodes of like Star Trek, like I mean, mostly Next Generation, but then also my
Next
but
Generation
then
is so
also like
good.
my favorite iteration of Star Trek, which is Deep Space Nine. Dude,
I
hurry up and
still
get
need to
into
get
us. We can
into it.
talk about this shit.
I'm
All
gonna
right,
I'm
get hurry
gonna
up, dude. All right, because
I'm gonna make it happen so that we
you
can
have
have
to
like a Deep
understand
Space Nine.
the. I want you to know the awesomeness that is Captain Benjamin Sisko. All right, get on it. All right,
Okay, all right.
everyone has that question. It's like, oh, who's your favorite captain, or who's the best captain, Kirk or Picard? I say Cisco. I know I
False
don't believe in
binary.
false binaries. Captain Cisco.
But of that false binary, I gotta go Kirk just because I love the original
Yeah,
series so much.
Kirk. I mean, Kirk. Yeah, Kirk is awesome. I mean, nothing against Patrick Stewart, uh, but his recent takes is like really colored my appreciation for the character of Jean-Luc Picard. I'm afraid.
Oh, actually, you should watch you should watch the movie The Green Room where he plays like a
Oh,
Nazi. It's
yeah, I gotta watch
really
that.
it's actually like it's actually an interesting movie. I
That's so
really
funny
I
because
actually
his
really
best
enjoyed it.
friend Ian McKellen plays a Nazi in Apt Pupil.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that's right. He's
I
like,
know,
"Well, I'm not going to be outdone
right?
by him." Yeah, no, watch The Green Room. It's pretty good. It's a
All right,
nice
for
like
sure.
little thriller.
So yeah, I mean, for those of you who are like, who are like, oh, why are you guys talking about entertainment? It's like, well, it's important because entertainment is the culture. Like, there's constant reference. We make constant references to The Simpsons, which, which heavily shaped our perspectives, and our senses of humor, and and how we relate to one another, and so entertainment is important. Entertainment, is part of culture. And when we feel that culture is somehow being subverted and tainted, we have to speak out about
Yeah, when entertainment gets corrupted, it corrupts life.
it. All right. Anything else you have to add?
Well, no, but I was just gonna say, speaking of entertainment, should we get to
Sure.
our movie review?
All right, let's get into the movie review. To remind you all, this month's theme is Rise of the Machines, and tonight we'll be reviewing Simone from 2002, starring Al Pacino, Catherine Keener, um, a lot of Coppola's. What is it? Who's that? Or people in the Coppola family. Jason Schwartzman is in it. Um, yeah,
Yeah,
a lot of
yeah,
faces that you remember. Jay Moore.
yeah. Jay Moore's in here. Yeah, it's a
Oh, and
star-studded
what's his
film.
face? For those of you Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fans, Casey Jones himself, Elias Koteas.
That is right. There's
Mm-hmm.
Hank Alino.
All right, let me hit y'all with the synopsis.
I totally forgot that that was Casey Jones. He looks
Yeah, I
so
mean,
different
definitely
in
older.
this.
But, all right, let me hit y'all with the synopsis and we'll get going.
No, not just older, but like just like he
Ah,
looks
yeah,
so different.
I get it. A director's film is endangered when his star walks off, so he decides to digitally create an actress to substitute for the star, becoming an overnight sensation that everyone thinks is a real person.
The one thing about this film that I found very interesting is it is consistently shifting
Mm,
its genre. It kind of starts off as like this director who is struggling with his actor who is a prima
played
donna,
by
which
Winona
is
Ryder.
a story as old as time. With played by Winona Ryder. The director is Al Pacino, and that's a
Mm,
story as old as time, right? And essentially, it kind of he's already on the downswing of his career. People think he's washed up. This is like his really kind of his last shot with the studio. And when the actress essentially leaves the set, that's it for him. And that's where, yeah, as he's kind of packing up and just kind of he was essentially in the middle of a shoot of it sounded like a remake of something or like it was an adaptation of some book
right,
or
yeah, yeah.
play,
I think he said like it was a remake
and it was essentially
specifically.
yeah, it was essentially filmed, but they were gonna need to replace
Mm-hmm.
the actress. And that's when this seemingly crazy person who has like gauze stuffed in his like dead eye uh because of like a tumor. He's like, well, I'm a huge fan of yours, and I really want you to succeed, and so I've created this. Like, I got something for you. I need to give you. I need to show you, and it's essentially it's what we come to find out. It's an AI program to digitally put in to create a fake person to put in his films because just like Al Pacino's character, Hank also is about the art form. It's about putting out the best product. So he's created a program to help put out the best product. And he's like, "Are you a you're a crazy person. I don't want to talk to you. You look like you're no, I'm not. Go
Right.
away."
I mean, yeah, because
And it's like just call me. It's just call me. It's okay. Like it's just I'm not a crazy person. We talked about this. And what was it Al Pacino's character is like,
yeah, he's very
well,
resistant.
it was a
He just
Victor
had
Tarantino.
days of days.
Yeah, he's
Where he's got chewed out by the studio execs, which plot twist, happens to be his ex-wife. But yeah,
yeah,
he's packing up his stuff, in like in anticipation of him being canned, because if they can't put out the movie, then the studio can't make back its money, and therefore it's like, why even have this guy who hasn't made a hit for us in ages. Yeah, and I
yeah,
thought it was really interesting. When he was talking to Elias Coates' character, he's like, "Oh, you're talking about a synth." what was it, synthespian, and so and I thought it was funny. I thought it
Yeah.
was funny. It's like no, I like to
Yeah.
call. It's like I rather I call them vectors.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, essentially, yeah, like a completely
Um,
uh, a digital actor performer, and customizable to the point like you're gonna add all these different attributes from like past starlets and and actors, to create the ultimate product.
yeah, because Hank is
Mm-hmm.
eventually like he passes away, but he leaves all this stuff
Mm-hmm.
to Victor Transky, Al Pacino's character, to utilize it because
Right.
he believes in Victor, and that's when Victor starts messing around with this stuff, and he's like, oh my
Yeah,
god,
yeah. He takes. Mhm.
I can use this,
Yeah, he put
I
he
can make this happen.
superimposes the new actress, the virtual actress, which will he will then refer to as
Become
Simone.
Simone.
Um, and he there's like a screening of it, and initially he's afraid that like he's gonna be found out. It's like, oh, as a fraud, and and using a fake. Yeah,
It's not gonna look
he's
real
afraid that he's
enough
gonna be
or
found out to
whatever.
be using a fake actor. And initially his fears are teased when he's in the bathroom in the theater, and like some viewers come out and say like, oh, like that's so, yeah, they're talking about
Looks
how
so
fake it
fake.
was. It's like, but but he leaves before he gets
It's
right,
like
yeah, like
19th century
before
Denmark.
he gets full context of what they're meaning. He leaves the bathroom, and it's like, oh, like, what do you expect us to believe? Like that's like 15th century, yeah, like Romania or whatever. And but
Yeah.
then he runs. But then he sees his daughter and like a group of people, and they're like talking about the movie, and they're gushing over it. Yeah, they're
Yeah, it's like there he is. There's the director. And they all start clapping at him. It's like, wait, you liked it?
yeah, and then
Yeah.
to a surprise, they all loved it. They
And
all and they couldn't they couldn't say enough good things about the actress that he got to replace the Winona Ryder character. And so
yeah. And
and he was and then after that success, he told himself, he's like, oh, I'm just gonna I'm gonna tell everybody, and rub it in all their faces, saying like, it's not about like, it's not about like the big name. It's about the vision and the direction. Yeah, it's about the
it's about
art.
the art,
Yeah,
the vision, the art, the direction. But he's like, I'm not gonna say it yet.
right. But
I'm
like,
gonna
yeah,
use
but
you for one
he's
more
constantly
picture.
getting the accolades. He's getting the praise. He's getting the attention of the studio. And like and they want to know.
He buys into the drug of
Mhm.
the attention for himself and not and what he should have done is like right from the beginning is like, let me show you what I have. It's like this is why my vision was correct. It's the actors that are wrong. But he couldn't do it because he loved the
Exactly.
accolades so much. It's really it's a real
Hmm.
tragic film in that sense because it is a film that pokes at like the
Hmm.
problem with ego, both on the acting and directing side. It's a film that yeah, the film talks about the problems with what's the word I want to use? It's the kind of like what we're going through now is we do have like a lot of like the CGI where it's cheap. You don't have to spend a lot of money, which we see in the film that becomes a plot point where it's like this budget is unrealistic. Like we don't why are we not spending money on this, and this? But it also speaks on content creation as well. I mean, obviously, Andy and I, we make content. We post up on YouTube all the time. We're putting out episodes, but when you are successful in this in any sort of entertainment and people gravitate towards that, and yet then you try to take that away, they people get upset and they riot and they're like, well, why is this not happening? Why is this not here anymore? And that's the trap that Victor Taransky gets into, is that he essentially he becomes a slave to his own
Mm-hmm.
ego, and then but because of his decisions, it leads him back into uh, getting to a point where he can get back to his wife that he
His
wants to
ex-wife.
be with, but when his ex-wife that
Right, right, right.
he wants to be with her. He wants to have the family. He wants to have the family with his ex-wife and his daughter together, which is gonna happen. But then he becomes a slave to
Mm-hmm.
content creation, and that people cannot believe because it's gone on for so long. It's probably been several years. I mean, he's made like 4 movies with her, with Simone. That's at least like 4 years at best.
Well, I think but at the time of the
Um,
Oscars, he made the two movies. And then he puts out the movie to kind of to denigrate her, but then for some reason people absolutely loved. Um,
that's also an indictment on society too, because they're like, oh, wow, we love this artist, and she's such a revolutionary.
right?
But
Yeah,
one,
yeah.
because it's a woman, so I think that's one thing. But number two, it's like it's so revolutionary. Oh my god, look at this! Like the avant-garde, like dickheads that just they'll
Hmm.
eat anything up just because, like, well, they're grossed out. It's like, oh wow, she's eating pig slop. Wow, how revolutionary! It's like, what about this film was so revolutionary? It's like it's just somebody doing disgusting things. It doesn't mean anything.
Right. I mean,
But there's a lot of films out there nowadays where like people are doing stupid shit, and it's like, wow, what a masterpiece. It's like, no, it's just
yeah.
trash.
What is it? I remember, I guess a friend who also shared an interest in photography, and he like an older friend. He was who was a bit of a mentor to me. Um, and he was sharing that one time he went to a gallery, and in the gallery they're showing the work of this woman who took pictures, who was doing photography. And in his opinion, it wasn't the best thing he's ever seen. But and like the girl, she hadn't been doing it for very long. But because and then he said, like, yeah, she was kind of a cute girl. Um, because of like her relative attractiveness, like she was afforded this opportunity to show in a gallery, even though her skill wasn't yet
Yep.
at the level of her meriting that honor, that
Right.
privilege. And so yeah, just like, yeah, so when Victor Taransky, Al Pacino's character, put out that movie to try and to humiliate and denigrate Simone, it kind of because of the spell that Simone has put on the public, like she could do no wrong. Also not hurting that she was a very attractive like avatar.
Even when
Oh
she was
yeah,
saying, it's like,
right, yeah,
who
and
even
then like
gives a
yeah
crap
she
about?
And
illegal
again,
immigration.
like Simone was supposed to do. Simone did a morning talk, like morning talk show interview, and he messed her up. Messed up her makeup. Had her smoking and drinking beer, and like she's giving all these like controversial takes. Yeah, controversial takes.
Saints.
It's like oh yeah, gun
Yeah,
control. Yeah, we need more guns, and it's like oh yeah, that's
which I kind of
beside the
agreed
that's
with,
beside
but
the
that's
point.
that's
That's
enough.
beside the point. But yeah, like she's saying like all the things that people who don't who are in that industry don't normally say or hold those kinds of opinions. But again, because of the spell that was cast on these people, because of her attractiveness, like people were willing to overlook these things and be like, oh well, Simone, she's she speaks her mind.
It's funny. I wonder if some of these other like stars or starlets who are firmly within the Hollywood industry, if you will, that are just like can do no wrong, especially the women. If all of a sudden they're like, you know what? I think we need more guns, or something crazy like that. That like let's say like Greta Gerwig all of a sudden came out and says like who is generally praised for her work is like, you know what? I think we need more guns in this country. Yeah, she's like comes out like drunk talking. Well, she's like up for like Oscars or whatever. Do you think that it would have the same reaction that it did like with Simone?
I don't think she's attractive enough to get away with it. So I would say it was more of a
Who would it take to like really like fuck things up in that
like to
sense?
have like that opinion, that specific opinion.
Yes. To have that opinion, but to also have that like maybe change in thought
Um,
for the masses.
I would say it would have to be Scarlett Johansson.
Oh, that's a good
Scarlett
yeah.
Johansson, and
I think you're right.
maybe if it was like Scarlett Johansson from let's say 6 years ago.
Yes. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, 'cause I mean, not to say that that she's ugly, but she's older, and so she's not quite like yeah from
She's not ugly.
let's say from
She's
the
not
time period of
yeah.
when Iron Man 2 came out.
Yeah,
Mm.
definitely from the Iron Man 2. Well, but she wasn't like the
Right,
big
but like her
star.
beauty a lot gave her a lot more opportunities. Yeah, you
See, but the thing is you need to have the beauty and the cat but you also have to have the
right.
cachet behind
And
that
I
as
know she was
well.
a like a child actress and stuff like that. So she's put in her she's put in her time.
Well, that is true. I'm not saying it, but most people know ScarJo from, you know,
Mm.
MCU on. So I would say like maybe like Marriage Story era ScarJo.
Mm. No, but it's even again, she's not ugly, but I would it would still have to be some like for her to get away with that particular opinion, it'd have to be much closer to like her prime.
Mm. So like Iron Man
Mm-hmm.
2 ScarJo looks, but with the cachet of
Yeah.
Marriage Story ScarJo. Yeah. But yeah, as I was watching this film, I was like, it really had these interesting twists and turns because it felt like it kept changing genre. Like it was this drama film, or it went from like a drama
Mm-hmm.
to a rom com, to a like thriller, and I'm like, wait, what is going
Mm-hmm.
on? And and at the same time, where Victor Taransky, who is like trying to improve his life and like he's like, oh man, I'm getting the accolades again. Yes, I'm a director. Like my vision works, and I don't have to deal with the fucking stupid
Mm-hmm.
actors anymore. But it also isolates him, and he has to figure out it's
Mm-hmm.
not working for him, and he becomes so involved with this fake thing that doesn't exist, and he's almost trapped by it and captivated by it, which I think is definitely back then wasn't a thing, but is certainly something that is happening now where people are so caught up in something that doesn't really exist. Social media or well, I mean, now we have like the AI stuff, which is also people getting caught up in stuff that doesn't really think or exist. It's just like an algorithm that interacts with you. And he's also the director, Victor Transky, is trying to get his life back to trying to be with his daughter and his ex-wife and have a family again. And it gets to the point like where it's almost going to happen, but this fake thing that everyone thinks is real gets in the way. And it's like, no, there's nothing. It's not and even when he tells the truth, it's like, it's not real. Oh my gosh, Victor, why would you say something like that? That's so horrible that you wouldn't even call her a real person. And he's like, ah, I want to be with you, stupid. It's like, but he's fucking trapped in this cycle that he created for himself. It's nuts.
Yeah, I mean, there is some like esoteric knowledge in this movie, in that this is essentially what they do. They create personalities. And they don't necessarily, not like to the point where like they're digitally creating these people. They take an actual person and then they create the the narrative around that person. And so yeah, I mean, this so
Yeah. It's Victor Sharansky in the guise of Simone.
right, but
That's
I mean,
what
in
this
terms of
person
like
is.
real life, like certain big time celebrities, it's what they do is like they take a real person and then they just build around it, and like so the facade is fake, but the person
Yep.
is an actual person. So yes, yeah. So there is some
Exactly, yeah.
truth to what this movie is portraying. Yeah, they're talking about how like you know actors can eventually be replaced, which was predictive because especially with like AI. What is it? A
Well,
creator
and
that I've been
hell, like
following.
during COVID, like people aren't even like
Well, no,
filming in the
but
same
just
spot anymore.
what is it? A creator that I follow, Dave Cullen. He has a channel, Computing Forever, but he does analysis and commentary on like social and entertainment sort of things. And he talked about the rise of AI and how powerful it's become, like to the point where he showed clips of AI generated movie scenes, and it's like to the point that it's so good, like they look like legitimate human beings. Yeah, like the
That's
skin
insane.
textures
That's
like looks
crazy.
good, like the way that like how like the camera quote unquote like follows the people, and just everything, like even like the environment looks like really like it's rendered so well that it looks like like a real place out in like the real life. Yeah, and just like
That's
like
crazy.
through a few simple prompts, like outdoors, wooded area, uh, you know, uh, you know, man with strong jawline in a suit of armor. and it's like boom, that's what you got, and like it's indistinguishable to like an actual person. So yeah, like could something like Simone
Wild.
be accomplished today? Yeah, I believe it could, but
Yeah, like when this film came out in like 2002, this
right.
was a
I mean,
bit
yeah, we had computer
outlandish.
generated
But
graphics. I mean, in 1996, what 1990? No, 92. You know, when Jurassic Park first came out, like we thought 93. Right,
93.
90, I was 1 year off. But yeah, in 1993 when Jurassic Park came out, like, and we saw dinosaurs and they looked real. It's like holy fucking shit.
What was it? And
Yeah,
that was a
practical
mixture
and yeah,
of
digital.
practical effects and CGI.
But yeah, when we first saw, you know, that sweeping shot of the
But
park, and
yeah,
we saw like those herding dinosaurs and like the huge like, you know, brachiosaurus thing. It's like holy shit.
yeah. So back in the day, like when Simone came out, 2002, it's like, nah, that's crazy. But nowadays, it's like, we're there. We are right in that cusp, and obviously that was what the all the strikes within
Yeah,
the
Screen Actors
Screen
Guild and the
Guild
Writing
and
Guild.
the Actors
Yeah,
Guild.
I mean, what is it? Yeah, Rogue One. You know, when they did, you know, Grand Moff Tarkin. You know, I think they jumped the shark a little bit with like the actual like reveal. But even
Yeah,
just like if, I mean, I get it. Where I'm retread. This is a retread. But yeah, if they stopped at just the reflection, it would have been perfect. But because again, the technology wasn't exactly there yet, when he did turn around, there was still that uncanny valley. But the clip that
the
Dave
Uncanny
Cullen
Valley.
showed
Yep.
in his video, like it, the human being, you I was like, you could like try and like look up, you would try to look up this guy's IMDb page. Like it was so realistic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, so in terms of
Oh,
technology,
really
we're there.
scary. Yeah. The other thing that was like really crazy about this too is because Taransky has worked so hard to prove that Simone is real. Everyone like not only believes that she's real, they are worshiping her. You know, she is a icon, which we've talked about with like the weird simp AI with the
Yeah,
AI porn and stuff like that, and the weird simps that like are paying for the
yeah, the girlfriend
not the
experience.
actual porn star putting the content, but it's like the AI thing that they've put out that the
Mm-hmm.
weirdo is interacting with, which is a whole nother thing.
Mm-hmm.
But what ends up happening is like, keeping up like Simone is ruining my life. I can't, everyone thinks that I'm with this person and that I'm controlling. The reason I'm
Because I
controlling her
am.
is because I'm in a relationship with her, all that. And so I can't get the thing that I really want, which is my family back. And so he kills off Simone, quote unquote. And when she just disappears and he says, "Oh, well, she died of
Yeah, some sort of disease that she was, you know,
was
that
a
she was, you
disease
know, like the goodwill ambassador or whatever.
fighting." And they find him guilty of murder. It's like, and the other thing is because he dumps what look, we know that it's
Yeah, the
all
hard
the
drives
discs
and whatever.
and that contain her memory. And so he dumps that off in the ocean, but the camera catches him at the pier with a very
Trunk,
large
yeah,
trunk
trunk large enough for a
dragging
human
it over
body.
to the boat. Yeah, it's just, oh my god. And it's like when you see that camera, it's like
I know, right?
they're gonna
It's
charge him
yeah.
with
They kind of,
murder,
you know,
aren't they?
they kind of hung a lantern on that camera, but
They did. they did. I was like, oh, they're gonna
right?
convict him of murder, and
Yeah, it's like, and it's funny because there's like a,
yeah, I mean,
what is it? It's, I think it might be a Soviet saying, but it was like it's easier to it's easier to trick somebody than to convince someone that they've been tricked. And that's essentially what happens in this
yep,
in yeah. That's
that's
what this
what
movie's
this
about.
movie
That's
is about.
and mentioned how he spent like all this time trying to convince people that she was real, and then when he tells people like that she's not real, like they can't they won't believe him because because again,
Well, I saw her over in Spain for a concert. So how can you tell me that she's not
right,
real?
exactly.
Motherfucker, I'm the one that like, made that happen. It's
It's like,
like
yes, you are responsible, and it's funny is that it's like because he's saying
it's
like, I'm
crazy.
responsible for this. It's like, yeah, I know you gave her a big break or whatever, and blah blah blah. And it's like no, I made her up.
It's like
Yeah.
literally no one gets it until like the
Well, not
very
even then,
end.
because it's only when the ex-wife and the daughter find his computer, which I know, like I did my best to I suspended my disbelief, but it's like the early 2000s era of like thinking of what computer viruses do and how they're reversed is just so laughable. But I did suspend my disbelief.
Oh, that was the part of the movie I was
Right.
like, okay,
It's like, oh,
that's
you just stick in
stupid.
the floppy disk of all things. The
Yeah,
floppy
the
disk.
floppy disk.
And the virus went in and disassembled
Absolutely 9.5.
Simone virtually. But then all it took was for the daughter to come around and push some buttons and then take the floppy disk out again,
Couple of keystrokes,
and then yeah, boots right back
picks it
up.
back up. Dad was right. She's not real.
Yeah, but then
But okay,
but it's so funny
but
that
here.
instead of just helping, like clearing her father's name or clearing her ex-husband's name and just letting basically telling everyone the truth, they decide to roll with it. And they're like, all right, we're rolling with this forever.
They don't roll with it.
Yeah.
They enslave him. And I was saying, it's like, why? Why didn't they just say that he was telling the truth? She is not real. Because obviously, like
Mhm.
they want to be together, but no, they can't be because if they are shown in
Mhm.
public being together, well, now it's gonna look like he's
Right.
cheating on Simone. It's gonna make him unpopular, and at the same time, he could just be cleared of everything and have that life, but that's not what they go for. They make it seem like Simone is alive, that she just oh because I was pregnant and I didn't want all the publicity, and so they turn Victor into this slave who has to create content for something that he knows is not
Well, I
real,
mean,
just to appease the masses.
I think his ex-wife, and maybe not his daughter, but his ex-wife are utilizing her or Simone and Victor for her own ends. I mean, at the end, it's a little bit obvious because she's like, I've been really thinking about politics, and then like, and like they, kind of the camera pulls back and like reveals that, yeah, like Simone had her baby, and it's like, oh, I want to get into politics because, I want to make the world a better place, especially for this little guy, it's just like, ah, shit. And so like now like what like they're gonna have like the first digital like president.
Well, that's the thing that it's like, well, but why would they do that? Why would they do that to Victor?
Because he still gets what he wants. He still gets to have his family back.
No, but he doesn't. But the thing is, he doesn't want that. Like the thing that he really wanted was to be back with his ex-wife and his daughter, who he
Right.
loved.
He's in a way.
And what would have been easy is that like when he was trying to prove his innocence, like she doesn't exist. She's not a real person. This is all fake. And when his daughter found the way to prove that he was innocent, they didn't just say, "Yes, he was telling the truth all the time. Let me prove it to you. Let me show you who Simone is. It's a computer program that fooled all of us, which is fine. You know, it's okay." But then instead of like, because clearly his ex-wife wanted to get back with him, his daughter wanted her parents back together, but instead of doing what should have been done, she well, we need to keep up the guise of Simone still, and you force him into this slavery of content creation to make him like, oh well, you're the father of
Fake
this.
baby. Yeah.
uh you're married to this digital person that doesn't exist, and you have a child, that a digital child that doesn't exist, and you were going to keep up that role forever.
I
It's like, what it's a punishment. He is Sisyphus
okay.
in
That's
a
a good
way,
way of putting it. Um, oh no 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 no. You know what
because
who
I
he
have a
is? He's
feeling that
Prometheus. He's
oh dude,
Prometheus.
yeah,
I
you're
mean,
right.
yeah, you're right in like linking it to Greek mythology, but he's Prometheus. He's the one with the technology. He's the one that kind of brings the technology. He doesn't necessarily share it, but he's the one that utilizes technology to uh, to create to get
He brings
he,
a
right. He
technology
gave.
to the
Mhm.
masses that like doesn't understand like what it means, and the gods are
Right. Yeah.
pecking at him for the rest of eternity. That is what is going on. You are
Prometheus.
absolutely right that that's what happened, and that is what his wife and daughter
Right. But I
do,
think in universe, I think it would be better for
because they're representations of the studio, which is
right.
his
Yeah.
god, his
But
master.
just in universe, the studio. If it did come out that Simone was fake and it was just a huge elaborate hoax, then the studio I think would probably be hit pretty hard through varying lawsuits. Also lambasting in the press and also losing credibility, and then maybe like even like returning like awards like the Oscar. And I think it would have meant the destruction of the studio, which Victor Taranti's wife or ex-wife is the head of.
Yeah.
So really, it was the most practical thing to do to keep up the pretense of Simone from within the in universe sort of rationale. But in a way, Victor
So
still gets what
he's
he
just,
wants. He gets his family back together because they're all in on it now.
but it's all done
I
in
know,
like secret. It's
but
just
in the grand scheme of things, they're still all together. They're still back. They're back together again as a family.
let's say, do you
No,
feel
of course
happy
not.
by the
I'm not
ending?
saying that this was a good ending, but I'm saying for Victor, he is no longer only one, uh, with bearing the load of this secret.
So, but do you think that Victor is happy?
In the short term, yes. In the short, yeah, only in the short term. In the long term, he'll probably be sick of it. He'll probably get sick of it, and like, I mean, not to be too dark, but he'll probably end himself.
Do you think that his ex-wife and that his daughter is happy?
I don't think any woman could be happy, but I think uh, I think for the interim, they could be satiated by the arrangement at the end of the movie.
But you think that Victor eventually ends up killing
Yes,
himself?
I know
Yeah.
it's dark, but yeah, I
Uh,
mean in the short term,
no,
yeah, in the short
I
term, I
agree
think
with that.
he is happy that he's no longer shouldering the secret himself anymore, and that at the very least he has his family back together again. And that's in the short term. In the long term, I think yeah he'll get sick of putting up pretenses and tired of making content. And he no longer not being allowed to
Not only will he
not allowed to
not
be out and about with his actual wife and his actual child.
right.
So I think if it goes that way, then yeah, I think he ends himself.
Yeah, because he's not only, like, trying to, keep together Simone, but now, like, this digital creation between him and Simone. Now it's 2 things that he has to keep up. Even if Simone ends up dying, quote, unquote, now it's like he has to take care of, like,
Yeah,
the
their
son.
fake child.
Yeah, which is crazy.
It
It's
is.
a
It really
wild
is.
movie. Um, what do you think about the epilogue scene
Uh,
in Simone?
that was wild. That was absolutely wild. I'm like wondering, like, is he making that video specifically for that guy? I mean, not necessarily like not for that guy, but for that guy's benefit.
Has to be.
Like, I mean, because like just so just so he could keep up the pretense that Simone is actually alive.
Yeah, maybe this is like an early version of like OnlyFans or some sort of like
Right.
social media thing, and you have to keep up the pretenses.
Yeah, but I thought it was hilarious when when he sees like the completed video of Simone shopping for chicken pot pie. It's like he's like so content. It's like, oh, she likes chicken pot pie like me.
Yeah, dude, like yeah, that guy. Oh, so let's talk about that guy too, because that
Yeah, the
investigator,
obsessive
like the
type.
reporter,
Yeah,
he is all over that thing, and he believes that Simone is real, and he's thinking that Victor is holding her hostage, not paying her a dime, and just all this crazy stuff. But then he also realizes that he never stops thinking that
right.
she's a real person. There's never any doubt that she's a real person in his eyes. And when she passes away, it's like, oh my god, this is the worst thing that ever happened. It's like
Yeah, he
he
is
is
so
so
distraught
emotional.
at the idea that Simone has died.
Yeah, he's such a there's a few things about this. There's
Yeah,
some weird characters. Him and like his little
yeah,
partner.
a young Jason
That's a little weird.
Schwartzman.
Yeah, little weird.
Yeah, it's so weird because
But other
he's
than that,
a muckraker, and yet he doesn't critically think about the situation at all. Like he recognizes the location that Simone is supposedly live broadcasting from, and they go there, and it's like there's a hotel in the background where like she should have where she was sitting, And then like
Right.
his lackey's like, well, how long does it take to build a hotel? And it's just like he like
Oh
for
my
someone
god.
who's supposed to be like who's supposed to get the dirt, on everybody, like he doesn't do the due diligence of like trying to look Simone up or trying to find her, um, her any sort of paperwork that would prove that she was an actual human being.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. Just a wild, wild, wild movie. It goes in so many different directions, and it is
Yeah.
terrifying as a film. Uh, what was it about, some because you said this is your first time. What was it about Simone that made you choose it other than our theme? Like, what made you wanna watch this
Well,
film?
I always meant to watch this movie, but for some reason, like I never got around to watching it. But then, when the theme for this month came up, I was like, dude, this is so perfect.
Yes,
So yeah, I was yeah, I mean, and this movie
agreed.
came out towards like around the time that I graduated high school, and yeah, I was always intending to watch it, but again, for whatever reason, like I never sat myself down to actually watch it until now.
Yeah. Well, how would you rate it, Andy? How did you feel on your first viewing of
I mean,
Simone?
now that it's been what, like 22 years since the movie came out. Gosh, 22 years. Um,
Mhm.
let's see. I'm gonna give this a three.
Oh, wow. That's a lot lower than I
Yeah,
expected
I
from you.
mean,
Why a
like you
3?
said, like it vacillates too much from too many different like genres, and what is it? I know there has to be a lot of suspension of disbelief, but just like the what is it? Like the stupidity of people in this world is just laughable.
Andy, you know the world that
I
we
know,
live in, right?
I know. I realize that I realize what I just said. I realize
I
what I
want
just
you to
said.
know that.
Okay, I do realize it. But
See, but you're
you
getting
have to
more.
admit the supposed like professionals, right? Like from the remember when they break into like the soundstage, where Victor is keeping the computer terminal, and he explains to her like, she's
Yeah.
incredibly agoraphobic, and that one studio executive guy's like, yeah, that agoraphobia is a real bitch, but yeah, I hear it's spreading like crazy in Europe.
Yeah. That was fucking dumb. You're right.
And I mean, and when Victor arranges that phone call in the car with Simone and his ex-wife, and like they get into a fender bender,
That's dumb.
but there's no coverage on it that Simone got into a car accident.
No, there's not.
So it's like, I mean, I get it. There's like there must be
It's
some like
it's dumb.
suspension of disbelief, but if the biggest movie star in the world got into a fender bender, like there would been a report about it.
Oh, there'd be TMZ headlines
Exactly, and like,
all
and I
over the
mean, I
place.
know, right,
Was
exactly,
he drunk?
and what is it? Video cameras were starting to become pretty ubiquitous around that time, like even within like cell phones. So even like early two
Yeah.
thousands, there would have been early 2000s cell phone video of that, like people like crowding the cars, like, oh no, what's going on? Da, da, da.
Yeah. Okay, so I think a 3 is fair. Did you enjoy your viewing of Simone for the first time?
I did enjoy it. I will say that.
I'm gonna come in slightly higher than you because I agree with um your negatives on the film, the cons. I'm gonna go 3.5 just because I think the message of this film is super important. But yeah, like there like some of the stuff that happens in this film is like, this is fucking ridiculous. Like this is crazy. But it's still really good, and I think it still has a message that's relevant today. And it also shows the gullibility of people. People are dumb. They they will believe anything. They'll believe that there is a actress that they've never seen, that they've never
They've never
touched, they've
interacted
never
with in
felt,
real time.
never interacted with personally, is like the greatest thing to mankind. And yeah,
Yeah.
it's sad.
Although it's weird too, because she had like a really weird career trajectory. Because she started off in acting and then went into music. When usually it's usually musicians or like singers who then go into acting. Yeah.
It's the opposite. Yeah, it's the opposite. But yeah, this is a great film. I'm definitely gonna watch this again. Um, I might show it to the wife. She sounded kind of interested in it, so might be another watch coming up here in the future. Uh, Great choice, Andy. Even though you never watched it before, this is a good introduction to a
Hmm.
very interesting film. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's
And
it, I
for the
guess.
record, like I am in agreement with you that there's an important message, like in this movie. But yeah, I unlike you, I couldn't give that bump, like that half bump, to you know to make it 3.5, merely on.
No, that's I am not disparaging
Right. Oh yeah, I know.
your
I'm just
ranking.
making clarification that just because I gave it a 3 doesn't mean I don't think uh, what the movie was saying about like celebrity culture and like the studio system and just and like people's gullibility is like it wasn't good or important.
Even with like all the genre changes in it, it does feel very
Yeah,
authentic.
that's a good way of putting it. All right. Anything else?
Uh next week we're gonna finish up our Rise of the Machines month with I Am Mother, which you can find on Netflix. Which is also a very interesting film, I think. I'm kind of curious to see your thoughts on it. I've seen it
This
once
is this
before,
is the Korean movie,
so I'll
yes?
be watching it for the second time. No, this is an American film with I'll send you the link. It has Hilary Swank, and it's about the story of this android that raises a young girl
Ah.
the young girl ends up rebelling against the
Okay. I think
android.
I think you showed me the trailer. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'll send you the link to like where you can find it, but it is on for those who want to watch along.
Uh,
It is on Netflix. It is called
cool. I have a
I
Netflix
Am
account, so
Mother.
this one will be easy.
I think it's from like
Hmm?
2017 or 18,
Oh, okay.
so it's a
Oh, when it
fairly
came out.
recent
Okay.
film.
All right, folks. That's something to look forward to next week. Uh, that's our review for Simone from 2002. I give it a 3. Rob gives it a 3.5. Definitely a movie to check out. You'll see. I think you'll see a lot of
Yeah.
parallels to kind of like the celebrity culture that kind of sprang up on or about that time, or even if you're younger, if you're someone who's younger and like you'll definitely see the kind of the precursors to a lot of like the celebrity stuff that we have today, and like the idea of like social media and
Hmm.
content creation. Um, Yeah, because what is it? Like a few years ago, there was a survey that was put out where like the top job that young people wanted to get into, and it was YouTuber. Yeah.
Jesus.
All right, folks.
They have no idea the amount of work that they're going to be getting into, but
That's a whole nother
that's a whole
discussion.
nother thing.
All right, folks. That brings us to the end of our stream tonight. I hope I had a good time. I hope you had a good time. I know Rob always has a good time.
Rob always has a good time. Just hanging out with my best friend, talking about movies, talking about like random news stories and topics. Great time.
If you enjoyed our stream, check out the library of the content that we have. Episode of the main podcast, of Circle Jerk's main podcast. And of course, we just recently dropped our interview with Philip Duke from
Just came out.
the Making Tarantino, the podcast. And of course, episodes old episodes of Nocturnal Transmissions, where you can find our movie reviews, as well as Rob's gaming show, Up by Up Down. Why can't I talk? It's the 3 hour. It's the 3 hour. We went 3 hours tonight.
You are on. You're not drunk, but
I
you're
know.
like
I'm running.
you're
I didn't have dinner
exhausted.
yet either. So soon as yeah. So
No,
yeah.
you're hungry
My
too.
blood
Oh
sugar is
yeah, so
dipping
you're
though. Yeah, my
your
my, my
stomach
blood
drunk.
sugar is dipping. So
Yeah, your
yeah, we gotta
stomach
wrap
drunk.
this up.
That's what's happening.
Don't forget to follow us on our various social media accounts: Twitter or formerly known as Twitter, but now X, and Letterboxd at Podcast COJ, and Instagram at Circle of Jerks Podcast. And with all that said, thank you for joining us. Come back next week, and we'll do it all over again. Have a good one.